There is no evidence that a well-known beluga whale, which lived off Norway's coast and whose harness sparked speculation of being a Russian spy, was shot dead last month. Vietnamese officials are working to manage the aftermath of Super Typhoon Yagi, which swept across the country with winds of 125 miles per hour over the weekend, leaving 59 dead and hundreds injured.
Most of the fatalities were due to landslides.
Catherine, the Princess of Wales, announced she has completed chemotherapy and is eager to return to work as she enters a new phase of recovery from cancer.
In a personal statement released by Kensington Palace, Princess Kate shared the update less than 6 months after revealing her cancer diagnosis.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Yeah. My camera's all messed up.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Yeah. Why is my camera all messed up? Oh, that's even worse.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
There you go. And
Wake up,
what happened, guys?
America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee
Now I'm upset.
and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well,
No.
we've got sit-down comedy. It's
sit-down
time
comedy.
for coffee with a dog. You make me laugh.
I don't know. Is it ever going to get better? Is it ever going to get better? That's the question. And you don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. Nobody has the answer. There's no answer. Oh, good morning. It's Wednesday, September 11th, if you don't know that date and its meaning in modern culture. I got nothing for you. There'll be a lot of never forgets today. Let's just remember the trauma we all went through. Yeah. Let's feel it again. Let's feel how horrendous the day was. Give that to whoever intended to make us feel scared, intimidated, whatever. Give it to them. Give them the power of the day by remembering the date forever and ever. It's not psychologically, it's not a good. Listen, I talk about this every time I have an anniversary of a specific family member that I lost. It's like the dates on the calendar are just not good for your psyche. We should do away with the calendar. Hey, what day is it? It's today. That's all. But every day I have to come on and tell you, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, September 11th. And, September 11th. Oh, that's when we watch people jump from burning buildings rather than burn up in it. That's when we watched, unless you're like one of these crazy people, we actually watch planes intentionally crash into buildings. There are people who swear that didn't happen. Don't believe your eyes. It's all CGI. It's a very somber day. And if you're an adult old enough to remember, it's a day that you will never forget. no matter if they tell you to never forget or you try to forget, you'll never forget. You're stuck with it until you die. Um, Obviously, I'm not quite old enough to remember Pearl Harbor, but it's kind of the same thing. Kind of the same kind of memories. Traumatic memories brings up a lot of stuff. And I wish we could just let it go. I really do. They say never forget. What are we never forgetting? The people who lost their lives, that I'm all for. Remembering the traumatic feelings that we experienced that day and the craziness of that day, I just as soon forget. If that makes me a bad guy, it's just one more thing, one more reason that I'm a bad guy. If you watched the debate last night, and I did not, I was working. I was working on dopey reels and AI reels and trying to boost my YouTube channel growth. They got this thing now on Opus where they have a beta program where they're not charging you any credits for just chopping your stuff up, but they're doing some unusual stuff. Not necessarily reel friendly or short friendly, more long-term friendly. And this program and what they take away from it, first of all, they spell Ron Kane, Kane, every time. And that's a problem because I don't have the time. I use AI because I don't want to do the editing myself. If I have to go in and edit names, but they are chopping up the weirdest. They're picking the weirdest moments, and the prompt is just find stuff that will encourage YouTube engagement, and they will come up with the weirdest things, and they are chopping things up and making compilations out of things that weren't part of the same conversation. It's just very frustrating. So that's what I was doing. But I did have Twitter on this machine, and I was watching people respond to the debate and reading some of the transcript that came through. And of course, I knew that the crazies were going to claim victory no matter what. Here's the thing. I'll let you not call you. Nobody wins a debate. Everybody claims they won a debate, but there's no prize at the end of it. Your loyal supporters are going to say, "Yeah, I'm still voting. I'm still voting for the guy who turned into Joe Rogan before your eyes." What I mean by turned into Joe Rogan before your eyes, it was always Joe Rogan. Here's a little bit of what I mean by that. Several months ago, Joe Rogan on his podcast talked about a teacher he knew that had a cat litter box in her classroom, and it was a friend of his wife who was a teacher, and she had a cat litter box in her kindergarten classroom. His producer Jamie pulled up the fact that it was a fraud that was debunked, and he said, "Oh, but I saw it on the internet." Wait a minute, you just said it was your friend's wife who was a teacher. Now you saw it on the internet. He let that slip out. He forgot to edit that out before he made it public. But that kind of what a crazy bullshit artist he is. But now last night, Trump in the debate, and I was wondering if he was going to be stupid enough. Really, I mean, I should not have wondered. I should have known he would be stupid enough to say this.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
I gotta love her reaction there. She just laughed at him like, what a fucking tool. But the issue I have is he followed that up with, they fact-checked him. And, of course, the dopes in MAGA world, oh, it's like 3 against 1 out there. They're fact-checking him, not fact-checking her. if you don't think that statement needs to be fact checked, go give yourself a colonoscopy right now with the tools you have in the shed or whatever. You give yourself a colonoscopy. Get a chisel out. I don't know how you give yourself a colonoscopy, but I mean, come on. If you don't expect that ridiculous statement to be fact checked, if you think Haitians are eating cats, you're too stupid to vote. You're too stupid to watch television. You're too stupid to breathe. Stop breathing. Just go eat a cat. Haitians are not eating your cats. But Trump's follow-up when he was fact-checked on this was, I saw it on television. Oh, my God. If you're going to vote for this, if you seriously think that you want somebody who can't tell the difference between reality and what he hears in the ridiculous conspiratorial grapevine and thinks what he sees on television is reality. You want him holding the nuclear codes. You want him to be in charge of the military. Seriously. I mean, think about this. This man cannot tell the difference between reality and just gossip, crazy, stupid gossip. It also shows you exactly how far the GOP is willing to go to fearmonger, make up ridiculous things, and just see what sticks. And by the time the debate happened last night, almost everybody in that world got to the point where they were admitting this is made up. Now, who made it up? It was J.D. Vance who made it up, came up with the whole thing. I don't know. They thought America would fall for this, and some people still are falling for it. Nobody is eating your cats and dogs. I mean, whatever. If I can't convince you, listen. They call the town council. They call it the dog catcher in the town. Nobody's dogs are missing. Nobody's cats are missing. I just don't know if people are willing to go that far into just believing anything that people will say to fearmonger. There's no hope. There's no hope. What the hell? What the hell are we doing here? Anyway, I'm not going to harp on this all day. It's just we got to a point where a presidential candidate is bringing up beyond Alex Jones nonsense. You know, in a presidential debate, they're eating your cats and dogs, and then complains that he got fact-checked on it. Fact-checked on ridiculousness. Why did she get fact-checked? Because she didn't say that shit. It's mind-boggling. But I feel like, you know what? What the hell are we doing here? We are dealing with people who are willing to just invent the craziest stories in order to convince people who won't fact check them to be scared. Be so scared that you have to support me, because if you go with them, the world's gonna end. I say, if you really think that people are chowing down on your pets, let the friggin' world end. That's what I say. Anyway, I think we have a good show for you today. We're going to start with Nurse Jen. Nurse Jen. Nurse Jen. Nurse Jen. Her name is Jennifer, not Genjenn. But Nurse Jen, who talks about intuition and nursing. I believe she's at an emergency room nurse. So we'll talk to her about what. Well, we'll let her talk about whatever she wants. But I'm really interested in the epidemic of lack of empathy in healthcare today because they've been overworked. Being married to a nurse and seeing the way healthcare people are just taxed physically, energetically, spiritually in their jobs every day. I am witnessing what I am and spending as much time as I do in nursing homes and assisted living facilities and so forth, rehabilitation centers. I am witnessing nurses who need to be 5 people at once, doctors who need to be 5 people at once. There's just not enough of them, and it's too much. Everything is on fire at once, and not enough firemen in the building. So that's what I'm interested in talking to her about. But we'll let her talk about intuition and her books and whatever. But I'm really, and how intuition plays into the profession. In the second hour, we got a guy named called. It's early for me. I've been up working all night. Give me some credit. Give me some grace here. Mitch Carson, who is a celebrated professional speaker, who is going to talk to us about getting booked and how you really create a brand that creates interest in the getting booked sphere. And when we're talking about speakers and entertainers and all that kind of stuff. Before we do that, let's look at a little Mind Bloom commercial, and then we'll say hello to our friends and then meet Nurse Jen.
Mind Bloom is helping people achieve life-changing clinical and personal breakthroughs, alchemizing both the psychedelic medication, psychiatric care from psychiatric clinicians, coaches, we call psychedelic guides, and a lot of content and meditations and programs into this really transformational experience.
Ron Kane is in my
it's delivered
spot.
at home, costs a lot less.
I'm going to
a lot more
his
convenient
dog.
for people to receive.
Oh, he's in my spot. You're lucky your dog died 2 months ago, because I'd come over and I'd kill him and eat him.
Yeah, well, no, luckily I saved the dog. So, I mean, after last night's debate, I broke out the grill and I made some nice steaks.
Careful, that could give you brain worms.
Yeah.
I purposely didn't watch the thing, but you can't avoid it because everybody is commenting on every word on social media. I'm here trying to work, and listen, it's partially my fault. I should turn off social media on this machine and not see it. But every comment, it was just like constant, like, "Oh, can't believe he said this! Can't believe it!" Obviously, I'm gonna assume you guys think she won, because I don't think you're idiots. That's why I'm going to assume it. But there are people. He declared himself the all-time debate champion, and of course, there are people in the MAGA world who think he did well. Now, there are a lot. To be fair, there are lots of hardcore Republicans who said it was the most disgraceful debate performance they've ever seen, like Chris Wallace, and there are people who will acknowledge that was just. Nursing home material. I mean, but before we get to our guest, share whatever brief thoughts that you have on what you watched. That's it? Okay.
Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Let us have a moment of silence, which is what Trump should have done last night. September 10th and September 11th, two disasters aired live back-to-back in our nation. MindDogTV.com. The real disaster. Support your local mercenaries.
Thank you. I forgot to introduce you guys, but that's okay. You know who you are. Have you met?
Yeah. In the flesh.
Yeah. Right. All right. Stephen is not with us today. Stephen will be out for the rest of the week. He's
grooming kids.
Yeah, he's grooming kids. This is a problem. See, now, if the school board or whoever is hiring him knew what he was doing most mornings, he would not be allowed near children. If they knew he was on this program, I'm not.
But you have to realize that he's in Indiana. They may not have a lot of good choices, so he may be the worst. I mean, you're going to have substitute teachers. It's not like there's never going to be a need for substitute teachers. So now it's a matter of what pool do you have to draw from. He could be the best they have to get.
Wow. You know what? On behalf of the people of Indiana, I apologize for what GD just said about your state there and what he just accused you.
Look, we didn't create the state. We did not move there. Okay, maybe if we moved there, we would be substitute teachers. I don't know. I'm just saying we have to consider the big picture.
All right. Fair enough. You just want to just insult the people of Indiana. It's all. That's the bottom line.
Insult people that aren't smart enough to realize they're being insulted.
Oh, I think I've proven that wrong on a daily basis. So, and no, because we'll just get right to the guests. You guys don't want to mention anything or your takeaways from last night, really quickly.
I think we've had Jen in the waiting room long enough, and we have the whole.
Not my fault. She showed up early.
No,
we got time for that.
I thought she was like 9:15.
All right, well, maybe I'm early. Maybe I just need more coffee. How about that?
Yeah, how about you're just late? If you were a woman, you'd be okay. Being late is a good thing sometimes.
What makes you think I'm not a woman?
Is it a face like that?
Yeah, you don't know what he identifies as, GD.
Yeah,
I mean, how dare you?
That's true. That's true. I stand corrected if need be.
All right. Nurse Jen Johnson, learned more about intuition after she started listening to what her body was telling her. After years of nursing in the ER, she started having a feeling about what was going on with her patients before tests and would show the clear diagnosis. And she's written about it. She has she's very excited to share what she's learned about intuition and how it plays into the profession of nursing. She's here with us now, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome.
Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now I'm going to assume because your website has a CA in it that you're in Canada. Yes,
I am. I'm your token Canadian today.
All right. So do you think all Americans are crazy? I mean,
did I want to pull up some popcorn and see how badly it was going to go down last night? Absolutely. Unfortunately, my kids had to go to bed and they kind of dragged me with them, so I didn't get to see it in person. The TikToks are phenomenal that are popping up already this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, we feel bad for you guys. Like, oh, man.
Well, not everybody feels bad for us.
True story.
Yeah,
and we did it to ourselves. So I don't feel bad for people who do things to themselves.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
He's got no
apparently,
heart.
Those who voted Trump in the first time around were like my white middle-aged middle-income females, which is mind-boggling to start with. So I apologize for that.
Is that why you identify as a Gen J now? Because you would be part of that generation that did that.
I don't know. I just threw something up there. It was like normally it's just like nurse, like just nurse.
What I guess it's like a woman with like too many kids. They're all going, mom, mama, mom.
The running joke where it's like, you do a shot every time your kid says mom and you're drunk before like 7:15 in the morning.
Where do we begin with you, Jen? The intuition stuff in the nursing stuff, but I think because you're in Canada, I have to ask about, because our healthcare system is not the same as your healthcare system, and I started by saying our healthcare workers are extremely overworked, overtaxed, physically, energetically, spiritually, all that kind of stuff. Does that line up with your experience where you were?
That's 1,000% universal. And I didn't even realize that your wife was a nurse. So buy her some wine and coffee and just.
She's taken it's almost a year that she's been off now. She had like kind of a burnout for doing for 30 years. So
hey, she survived this long. That's a feat in itself, truly.
Right. Yeah. So, but I'm correct now. You spent most of your career in the emergency room.
Yeah, roughly around 16 years now. I've done a few stints here and there. Pediatrics in inpatient. I've done recovery room for a year, but the majority has been night shift in the ER. A bunch of different hospitals all over northern and southern Ontario. So yeah, I've gotten a pretty decent grasp at the different hospital systems and the different areas, and it's all the same.
Yeah, no, my mom was an emergency room administrator at Sinai Hospital in Baltimore, like a lot of years ago. And she used to come home with some really horrific stories.
Yeah. And that's just what
yeah.
she was willing to tell you.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, well, give her enough alcohol and she's willing to tell you anything. So.
True story.
So we heard some stories because you could not keep her away from the alcohol.
Probably, you know, chicken, egg, work, alcohol. It's really hard to tell where one starts and one ends, or what caused what.
But I think it's fair to say that emergency room nursing, or even doctors, anybody, even aides and everybody, that experience is a unique one within the world of whatever the profession is. I mean, that is probably, there are moments where you get quiet, but for the most part, it's like almost nonstop insanity, right?
Yeah. We don't say the Q word. We're very superstitious that way. So we tend not to say quiet. It's very, you won't hear me say it often. I mean, just like this last week, you know, we had one shift that was absolutely phenomenal. We only had 4 ER level patients by the time I left in the morning, which was unheard of. And by the time I came back, I had 2 ICU level patients. One was intubated. I had a guy with a heart rate in the 160s who was kind of not doing so well. I had a lady with a hand lac that was bleeding profusely. And then a guy whose again, his heart rate was super, super high, but he had reverted himself. So he was kind of on the lesser end. But I was expected to manage all of that.
And I'm just want to make a clarification for those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with nurse talk. When she said hand lac, that's a laceration.
Sorry.
Okay, just so you know, those of us in the profession of cutting people understand what she's talking about.
Right. Yeah.
She was in a car accident. Her hand got caught up against the glass, and it cut the hand really quite badly, and actually ended up being arterial, which means like you could bleed out in minutes. So had to kind of debate who I was going to see when.
Well, I just, and for perspective here, GD, his experience in nursing is every Halloween he dresses up in a nurse outfit. So
no, I dress up like that all the time. I just go out in public on Halloween.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you give me 10 seconds, I'll run right over there and grab my stethoscope and my blood pressure cuff.
No, it's cool.
Okay.
We're fine. We're fine.
Oh, okay.
I apologize for that, and I stand corrected. Thank you for straightening me out on it. I definitely do need to be slapped down every once in a while.
We're good for that too.
Yeah. Now, define what you, because I understand how nurses, sometimes they can know things, but I think it's more so much experience wrapped into a very short shift constantly that your brain automatically goes to what the problem is. And I'm not sure if I define that as intuition. It's just experience. So please, for the sake of this discussion, define what you mean by intuition, and is it aligned with just that part of your brain that logs these experiences that instantly recalls it when you see that exact same scenario playing out before you?
Yeah. So again, experience absolutely plays a part into it. My experience has been that the more I do and the more I see, obviously, the better I get at seeing what really, really sick is, not so sick, and absolutely perfectly well is. But it's these instances when you're going through your shift, you're running around, and either you're stopping dead in your tracks and looking at somebody going like, I don't like the look of this situation. I don't know what's going on. I need to kind of put my hands onto this to see like, okay, is there something that I'm missing? Are we doing everything that we can for this patient? Sometimes it's just a gut feeling where somebody will come into triage and I'm talking to them about what's going on, and their story isn't quite matching what I'm seeing, and their vitals aren't quite where I thought they would be. And sometimes it's just this like feeling of, I just don't know. And it's that gut feeling that many, if not all women know very well about. You know, you go into a room and there's a guy in the corner and you just get that sudden sinking feeling that something's not right with that person.
That would be Ron. That would be Ron.
Now, I'll say if I can add on, I think it's a combination of the information that you've gotten over the time, but not just that, but your willingness to be open to receiving it and interpreting it. Because I've gone to doctors. I went to a doctor with my appendix ruptured. I knew my appendix had ruptured, and I went in and I told him my appendix had ruptured, and he looked at me square in the eye and says, "Your appendix did not rupture." Now, he had the knowledge. He was a doctor. He understands. But there's something in his feeling that says if I walked into his office telling him that my appendix had ruptured, to him it was like, no, that doesn't make sense. You're upright. You're talking. You're saying you don't have a temperature. And I said, no, I have my appendix ruptured. It ruptured Saturday at 1 o'clock. I told him when it happened because I remember I was, and for a week, because he would not treat me, for a week, I walked around with a ruptured appendix until the pain got so bad that I walked back in there and I said, "You're going to treat me now." And he took an x-ray. The x-ray technician says, "I will not rule out acute appendicitis." And he looked at me and goes, "Well, he's just a technician. I'm a doctor." And he gave me a rectal exam. And I swear to God, to this day, I think he used a Coke bottle. But I begged him. I said, "Just let me see another doctor." And
just begging work because I begged you.
It did. It worked with him. Because he wanted to shut me up. He wanted to shut me up. I would not shut up, and he sent me to his, their gastrointestinal expert, Dr. Mary.
Well,
and she took one look at the X-ray and immediately took me to the hospital.
I feel like I have empathy for the doctor, because when you say he could not shut you up, I've been there.
Try being married to me and trying to shut me up.
No, no, thank you. No, thank you. Let's get back to it. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, sometimes
same thing, right? Like you knew that something was up and you advocated for yourself, and kudos for advocating, right? Like it's the same thing. Myself, I ended up having cholestasis in pregnancy twice. And the second time, there was a chance of 70 to 90% chance of it happening again with subsequent pregnancies. And by 28 weeks, I was going, I don't know what's wrong. I'm not in pain. I don't feel unwell, but something is telling me that something's not right. And so I went to the OB and kind of pled my case. And he was the same guy that had delivered my first. And he goes, "Okay, well, I guess we'll just check your blood work." And sure enough, my bile salts were already elevated. And normally they don't catch that till about 32 to 33 weeks. So I was way early with it. And he's just like, "Okay, well, now we're going to have to do, weekly blood work and ultrasounds and all this." And it was another way where it was just like, okay, that was my gut feeling. And here it is substantiated again. So bringing it from, into my own life versus caring for my patients, I can't come out with this book, obviously, without a ton of science behind me, because that's just the world that I live in. And so looking through all the science, there's not just a crap ton of information about intuition over the last 20 years, but specifically intuition in nursing. So there's multiple case studies, peer-reviewed, supported evidence. And really ask any nurse, do you know how to trust your gut? Have you ever felt like something was off with a patient, and what did you do about it?
Right.
Because really, we've all done it. Whether or not we put a name to it is something else. But we've all had that time where we just felt like something was off. We then go to our doc, say, "Hey, this is what's going on. I don't know what's up. Could you take another look?" And, for the people who are like, "Okay, well, what if the doc puts you off?" Well, that's fine. You better believe I'm going to chart my little butt off about spoke with MD, no new orders received, that kind of thing. And the good docs, the one who've been doing it quite some time, when I say, and my other nurses say that something's up, they go and check the patient. And sure enough, 9 times out of 10, something's up.
Yeah. Here's what I'm curious about, because I'm glad you said the science behind it and all this. But
yeah, very much so.
When scientists hear about things like intuition, and people, the tendency is to think there's something mystical about it, or that it is magical thinking, and magical thinking is quick to get rejected by people of science. So I think probably, in my experience, nurses are more inclined to be open-minded to what's going on, but and doctors sometimes will accept that it's a real thing. Intuition is a real thing. What level where the trust comes in? You know, some people can have good, uh, better intuition than others, but the science of how it is develops and how it works is still mostly a mystery to us. Yes.
So there's a lot of work being done on neurotransmitters, neurochemicals, and kind of coming at it from that angle. And, again, it's the same thing as just walking into a room and going like, ugh, I just don't like what's going on here. I don't like that person. How do you justify the cops that go in and they're interviewing somebody and within moments go, I don't have a great feeling about this. There's something more going on. And that's a very male dominated profession.
Right.
So,
But what we're talking about is trust, right? You're trusting your own intuition. But see, when you talk about, and how do I explain this? I'll use myself because I have bad intuition. When you talk about walking into a room and just noticing that, I am the worst with those kind of things. And so there are people you really should not trust on that level. I'm one of them, because I think Ron was a creeper and I was afraid of him. And now I actually walk around with like a knife behind my back when I see him because I'm afraid of him. But turns out he's a really nice guy. So it's knowing, because I know you believe in your own, but for a doctor or for your colleagues to say Jen's intuition is trustworthy, they have to see it more than be validated more than once. But
absolutely,
it still comes down to a trust issue, like, well, where and how do we build that trust in whoever's intuition? And that's where it gets a little, because you can't just go on that without having that kind of relationship and knowing the person, right? Oh, I hate to interject that, but that's my feeling.
But 100%, right? So again, you come at it from the other angle. So if somebody's asking the physician to intervene, maybe they're newer, they're just not sure, they haven't really sick versus not sick just yet. So they ask the doc, hey, can you come on in? Just by having that doctor come in and seeing that patient still improves patient outcomes. So no matter what, it's a win-win situation. So even if you're wrong and the doctor goes, oh, you know what, that's okay, the patient's not nearly as sick as we thought, great, that validates the nurse and that, okay, I am still learning, I've got a little bit more room to grow. But if something's right and that nurse has brought the doc in and we're now intervening at a critical moment where you're intervening hours, days before something worsens, you could be saving a life, truly.
Right.
So am I going to potentially get lambasted for this book? Absolutely. Do I understand that it's coming at it from a very woo-woo perspective? Absolutely. But again, ask any nurse if they do this, what they call it. And the fact is we're just not talking about it more than, the occasional 3 a.m. conversation when we're also throwing around ghost stories. So
I think I can tell you what they call it. Because part of my very extensive experience in life is I worked several years for a school of healing. It was aura healing. Nice. And energy field healing. And the term they used to use, because ESP was kind of like, it had that, like aliens, Bigfoot, ESP, paranormal. So they started calling it HSP, hypersensitive perception. It's when all your senses are engaged in a way that it bypasses the critical thinking and gets to your your gut feeling. But not everybody had a great just an ability to adapt that, and so the question becomes, can it be taught, or can it be taught, and can you fast track it so that you don't have to spend 30 years in nursing before you get it and then you're ready to retire?
Fair. I personally believe that it's absolutely able to be taught. I don't know about fast tracking it because, again, it does work with your experience, right? So the more people you see, the more experience you get with not just people and their illnesses, but people in general and how they act. And, my job, 90% of people are lying to me on a daily basis, whether they realize that they're doing it or not. So I don't trust I don't trust anybody. You can say all that you want, but I'm taking it at a blank starting point, because really, if I assume things and it leads me down the wrong path and I've gone this way when I really should have been going this way, guess who's going to get burned? It's going to be me. It's going to be my
Right.
fault for not thinking like, well, why didn't you just, they said that they were dizzy or they had a fall. Why weren't you asking? Were they dizzy and fell, or did they trip and fall? Because that is two very different avenues that you're going to go. Because if they're
Right.
dizzy and fell, well, then the fall is less concerning. It's more the dizziness now. Are you having a heart attack? Did you black out? Are you having heart palpitations, or your heart's going into fatal arrhythmia? And
Yeah.
that's why you got dizzy and that's why you fell. So I need to follow that track versus just, oh, it was just a trip and fall. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
trip and fall,
But
fine.
you just said something that is very curious to me, and I understand it. Believe me, I'm not being critical here.
No, it's all good.
It's very interesting to me that, and I agree with you that people will lie to you, and whether they know they're lying, they just they're lying to themselves before it gets to you, is what it is really in a lot of cases. But you don't trust them, but you have to have an incredible amount of trust in things that don't make a whole lot of scientific sense if you critically think about them, like your gut. You have, so this is trust issues, but knowing where not to trust and knowing what to trust, and that's a dangerous proposition for knowing that the human propensity for failure or just misjudging things. It's a dangerous thing to ask the medical field to kind of embrace. Is just go with your gut is a difficult proposition. Yes or no?
I don't. I just interject real quick. I think the way you're describing it would give, I guess, any sane person pause. But that's because I don't think we have the actual language to describe what's actually going on inside.
Right.
It's not just. I mean, we're saying a gut feeling, and that
Yeah.
kind of like belittles it. But it's actually a whole host of things that's going on a level and at a rate and at a speed that is almost incomprehensible. So we
I
just
agree.
say gut feeling, and that's why people get paused. But if it's like, I have years of experience, I've seen this thousands of times, and I'm open to facts and interpretation, and I know one thing for certain. I've seen liars. You're a liar. You're lying. You're smoking. You just don't want me to know. You just took a breath mint and guzzled a bunch of mouthwash before you came in here. That kind of stuff. These things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I totally agree.
my mother lied to her doctor. And my mother's doctor was trying to decide what kind of treatment to give her for her cancer. And he says to her point blank, "Are you still smoking?" And my mother looked him square in the eye and says, "No." And I said, "Mom, why are you lying to him?" I was in the room with her because back then I was her the person, if anything went wrong, that I supposed to make medical decisions. I forgot what it's called. But
Substitute decision maker.
yeah, very good. Yeah, that's me. And so I said, "Why are you lying to him, Mom?" And my mother goes, "Why are you ratting me out?" I said, "Because he needs to know." I said, "He's about to, determine what medicine is going to work best with you. And he could prescribe something for you that works really, really bad with nicotine. He needs to know that you're smoking." And after that, my mother took me off the list and got my niece to replace me.
I wish your mother was here right now.
I never lie to my doctor, just my spouse.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's a smart. Well, I'm not the second part of it, but the first part of it. It is. But Jen, this idea of language, it's important, and this is where the science comes in. If we're going to really take it seriously as a science, not just kind of like all witches healing methods and all that stuff. If you're going to make it a science, you have to be able to define it and really kind of figure out the mechanisms of it. No, or could we just keep going along forever with this? We don't really understand it. We just believe in it.
I mean, to put some faith in it absolutely helps. But we're working on it. And just like, back in the day, we thought hysteria was a real thing for women, and that was a true diagnosis for years and years and years. And then only to
Men
realize
too.
that it was just women who are just a little pent up, and just mad at the world. And it was just more of a situational thing with the times. So, I mean, I'm just proposing that, people give it like this much of a thought, not necessarily credibility. If you want to debate it, absolutely come on over. Do I think I'm going to convert everybody into believers of this happening? Absolutely not. I'm pretty understanding of where people are. But I just want people to understand that, this is a thing. And it's definitely not used, every day, all day. It's definitely not the only thing that I'm basing any nursing judgments on by any means, shape, or form. But it's just one of these things where it works in conjunction with the Western medical way. It's just one of these things where it is just an adjunct. It's not to say that, we, completely leave everything else that we know behind. It's just another adjunct. So, like when we kind of started bringing pain into consideration for vital signs, so pain's, the sixth vital sign, that took a lot of kind of working people over, and it's a very subjective thing where your pain is not the same as somebody else's, which is not the same as somebody else's. But we're taking it into consideration. It's just something that, the number of times where I've stopped and I've told my doc, like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but like, is there any way you can just kind of take a peek at this? I don't have a great feeling about this. It's helping my patient. I'm still advocating for my patient. I'm still advocating for better outcomes.
Right.
It's just the way that I'm doing it is just, a little kooky and a little off the beaten path. But again, the science is there. And
Right.
I absolutely could not have published the book without the science, because, otherwise, again, it is just me saying intuition, woo, and just going with it. But, the science is there. I'm hoping just to kind of, if not open people's eyes to it, then just maybe open some conversations, because the more I talk about it at work, the more other people start talking about it at work. And then the docs are talking about it. And, we kind of see what happens when a new resident or somebody comes in and I go to them saying like, hey, I don't have a great feeling about this. And they put me off.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, why that? And it's like, well, I can't really quantify what I'm feeling. And of course that makes things so much harder. But I'm like, can you just come and see? And they're like, and they put you off. They're like, oh, you're just, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And
Here's where both these discussions come together.
yeah.
Because in the trust issue, if you had less patients to deal with, and more of your patients got to know you and see that your intuition is valid, that trust goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And then my whole thing is that everybody in the healthcare system is overworked, and it comes off looking like like a lack of empathy, but what it truly is, it's just burnout. They're just burning the candle at in five different places.
Yeah.
But if you have smaller, like in the old days, and here I am being Mr. Grandpa again, but in the old days, people had a relationship with their general practitioner, and they got that level of trust. So if he or she said something that without testing, but they just knew it, your instinct would be to trust them. They know me. We have a personal relationship. When you don't, when you're spread too thin and your patients don't really know you that well, and you're all over the place, they don't have the time to really get to know you and develop that level of trust that I don't have to be suspicious or just overly protective or whatever that is. I can trust this person and their intuition. I've seen them do it before, and because we have a relationship. So I think both of those things come together in this idea of the medical profession needs to embrace intuition more, but it really becomes a challenge if you are spread too thin, and everybody in the industry does seem to be just like spread it completely thin. So
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've dropped down to part-time. I'm just job share now, so I kind of pop in and out. But it allows me to then feel a little bit better when I do go to work, because I have that reserve where I haven't been working myself silly. And I'm able to go in kind of with fresh eyes. And, burnout takes that ability to have absolutely the empathy. It just zaps it right away. Not only does it zap it for your patients and their families, but then it also zaps it for your coworkers. So like, again, I've been through burnout. COVID absolutely destroyed me. And who knew that sleep was so important to just being able to function. But you start snapping at your coworkers. You're making, very you're cutting corners. You're doing things just to be able to get through the day. Whereas, had you been supported and had enough time off and, able to come out of the burnout and taking medications properly and, or reaching out for the therapy that we all need. Oh my God, all of us.
Right.
That will put you in a better position to then be able to care better, not just for your patients, but for yourself as well, because nurses are the worst for taking care of ourselves.
I
Yeah.
think doctors are worse than nurses, but that's it.
I don't know.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, because I don't want to put you in a corner here, but this idea of nurses versus doctors, because you work together.
Yeah.
It's really important to work together, but I think sometimes nurses, and I mentioned that I believe nurses are more open to intuition. Doctors are less open to intuition. Do you ever get in any kind of just arguments and real, locking horns over intuition or ideas about? Believe me, trust me, I know, I feel this. I'm certain this is the case. We need to do something, and the doctor or somebody wearing a white coat and being very scientific about it is rejecting it.
Yeah.
So it leads to confrontation or.
It's happened. It's no longer. So I remember being in nursing school and one of the teachers saying like, "Oh, back in the day, we used to have to get up and give the doctor our seat when the doctor came into the room." And I'm like, that's not happening. Absolutely not happening. So me and my physicians, I love my physicians dearly. Because it's the ER, because we're working 24/7 with these people, they're not just on call kind of thing. They're always there. They're always physically there in front of me, so I can grab them if I need something. And granted, they also understand that I'm not grabbing them unless somebody's actually about to try and do something or pass on kind of thing. So that relationship, especially in the ER, is so collaborative. And, I couldn't do my job without the physician, and I couldn't do my job without the educational or the environmental aides. It is a team, and you can't get away from that anymore, which is so great because, this whole doctor versus nurse thing is really kind of going away, which is great. Now, if we could deal with the nurse on nurse violence, that would be even better.
Now, I am of the opinion, the unshakable opinion, that women doctors are better than male doctors. And I think that's where part of the friction comes in. It wasn't a nurse versus doctor thing back then. It was more like almost like a man versus woman thing because of the roles that they played.
Yeah.
But if you get a woman doctor, I think they're more open, they're more intelligent. I'm saying this because if a woman, as a general rule of thumb, has the same degrees and same credentials as a man, she worked probably twice as hard to get that.
Yeah.
And so she appreciates the hard work as opposed to the male doctor who didn't have to work as hard to get those credentials. So that's why I insist on having a female doctor, female dentist. I just think they listen better, and I think they're more qualified.
You're such a bigot.
I am. I am a huge bigot when it comes to being bigoted.
See, I have been around a lot of doctors in my life, but other than at the School of Healing. Now, but I will say in the School of Healing, most of the students, well, I should say the biggest profession that came to the School of Healing was nurses. There were some doctors, surprisingly enough, lawyers, which would always bug me out. Like, what are they doing there? But I worked in pathology and have been around doctors, male and female. I'm not sure gender makes a difference on how good a doctor you are. I think fair enough. There are great women doctors. There are also great male doctors. So,
but were your patients were already dead though, right?
not all the time. No,
Oh,
pathology is not about just
No.
doing autopsies. It's about
oh, no, I thought
telling
that's
the
where you were.
story. That was my specific job. A lot of autopsy,
Right.
but medical research. So no, living patients. We would do. I would do a lot of stuff on just organs that were just removed from people, but they weren't dead.
All the biopsies, all the miscarriages that you send away for testing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But great, to give women their due, there were some amazingly brilliant women that I worked with, but I wouldn't say they were necessarily. I don't think their gender made them better doctors. I think
No, the gender didn't make them a better doctor. The shit they had to go through because of their gender made them better doctors.
All right, if you want
That's
to play
an interesting take. It's 100% an interesting take.
I think his wife
It's a
is
correct
listening.
take. It's a correct take, also. But like I said, no, I'm just saying it's my humble, unshakable opinion. You know?
I think it's just because your wife is in the other room and you just want to be really nice to women.
No, I was like before I met my wife, and that's what drew her to me.
All right. Okay. Now, you writing the book. Is the book for medical professionals, or is it also for people? Because I think as patients, as people who are invested in their own healthcare interests, it's important to kind of grasp onto some of these concepts. But so, who did you write the book for? Did you write it specifically for medical professionals?
Yeah, so it's more geared towards, newer grad nurses, those nurses who are like probably less than 10 years in, who are struggling to kind of find their way and figure out where they fit, and are coming up against, all the craziness that nursing entails that nobody warns you about in nursing school. So it's ideally for them, but again, it's got a ton of my personal stories through the ER through the years. It's got journal prompts in there regarding intuition and how you can kind of work it a bit to see if it's something that you're interested in kind of like following or honing a bit. It's also just, it's essentially my trauma journal that I wrote during COVID to try to explain, had I passed working during COVID and left 2 very young children behind, I wanted to try and give them a reason why I was still choosing to go to work during that time, knowing full well what the risks were. The good stories came the bad, and then just, wrote it in 6 weeks. I don't remember writing it. I blocked out a lot of it just because a lot of the stories were a lot of things that I hadn't really processed. So super cathartic for me. I'm still debating on burning the first copy just kind of to let it go. But it's just, it's my hope that I can kind of just let people know that, this is what we're dealing with. This is kind of the things that we go through. It's very much readable by somebody who's non-medical. I've made sure that that's the case. And it's even, nursing students or high school students who are looking to potentially come into nursing or medical fields, it's an easy enough read that you could definitely get through that.
Yeah. Well, as an author I call myself an author, I haven't published anything yet. I have two books. I have 2 books. One that I've written 4 drafts of but that's not the book that pertains to this. I have a book that is very, very close about a tragic loss that I experienced, and I can't finish it because it's I get through these really painful moments, and I just it gets overwhelming, and I can't finish it. So to hear that you just kind of were able to turn that off during the writing process, that's interesting to me. I would love to know how you did that, how you disconnect from your emotional or whatever empathetic connection to whatever you're writing about, and just barrel through it and finish it.
There was a
Just
lot
so
of
you know,
CBD on board.
just for context, Matt's tragic loss was his virginity, and I don't know why he hasn't gotten over it yet, but you need to get over it so you can finish your book.
All right.
CBD.
Yeah. Ron,
Highly recommend CBD.
your next victim. Go ahead. Now, were you going to give me some advice on how to get through that?
CBD gummies helps a lot. I'm not one for THC. That doesn't jive with me. Vodka more so. But CBD gummies, honestly, for some reason, it was just enough to kind of take the edge off where you could kind of just like get through it. It did take several times of going through it because it was all these stories where, you know, the 2-minute stories we trade as nurses, like back and forth about, well, this is why I'm, you know, scared to death about pancreatitis, and this was my first patient loss, and this was one of my ghost stories. So, you know, taking that 2-minute story and stretching it out to like a really decent chapter. It took several go-throughs, especially like my first patient death. Like I had to go through that one a couple of different times.
Go figure. That was one answer I was really surprised by this morning.
What? CBD?
Yes. For me, you know what? It's bedtime with CBD stuff. I don't know. I have gummies all over the place.
Oh, yeah, we got all sorts of gummies going.
Yeah, I haven't done them because I know what they do to me. They make me like a I don't know, zombie. But so okay.
I just suggest strictly CBD. It doesn't really alter you. You know, you do get a little tired if you're taking a higher dose, but for some reason, it was just something. Again, I was just looking for another way to cope during COVID.
Yeah, me too. I look for another way to cope with every single day. I think if I, you know, honestly, I think I'm at the point in my life where the world feels. How could it not feel crazy? It feels like something in the you know, space-time continuum, it got thrown off, and we are just living in bizarro world. And every day feels like a coping crisis for me. Like, how the hell am I just going to get through this day and maintain my sanity somewhat? There's just too much to cope with.
Welcome to the everyday life of an elder millennial.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But now coming back to nursing, because again, my wife, she has a lot of friends, you know, people she's connected to in nursing. I understand what you said about the snippiness that goes on, and believe me, I've heard millions and millions of stories. But I know people, young girls, young women, who get into nursing for the wrong reason. They think, well, it's a high-paying job. It's not really a high-paying job. For the amount of you have to invest in it. It's not truly a high-paying job, but there's that illusion that, yeah, well, it's better than working at Walmart and cashier at Walmart. Yes.
I don't know. When people assault the cashier at Walmart, they get arrested.
Right. Yeah. But so I think, but part of this plays into this. Everything, a lot of people are overwhelmed in the profession because a lot of people are getting into it for the wrong reasons. They're not necessarily born empathetic nurses. They are looking for a paycheck. And if you have to bear the brunt of that, now you're getting somebody who doesn't have the empathy, the natural skill set or the natural character set for doing your job, and you have to work with them. They're not picking up their end of the slack. You have to work double on it, and all that, it just compounds the whole system. So system wide, the healthcare industry needs to address this, look at what the situation is with overwhelm, with people just being burnt out and all this stuff, and address that. Have you given any thought to the big picture? And I know Canada's different than America. Hopefully, we will get more like Canada in some way. And
here's hoping.
Yeah, but so I mean, big picture wise, do you have any thoughts on how to deal with the crisis that of overwhelm and burnout and things that create lack of empathy because you're abusing the people in the profession?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, those that are going in for a paycheck, they don't last. They go into travel nursing where you're making upwards of, you know, $3,000 to $5,000 a week or every 2 weeks, and they think that, oh, this is great. Where in reality, you know, the people or the places that are paying the most for those agency nurses, those are the absolute worst places to work. You're expected just to jump in and go and function. So if you're coming out straight out of nursing school, going into those roles where you don't have a really solid background already to start, you've just set yourself up for disaster. As for the worldwide, you know, burnout issue and resilience and getting people in, the nursing beat actually just put out, I think there was a list of like 87 nursing programs in the States that are either widening their programs, adding more admission spots in. Because truly, you know, I think my nursing class, we were cut in half by the time we actually graduated. Patho and physiology and anatomy were the ones to kind of really kick a lot of people out.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get through it, right? So if you're, you know, if you've gotten through, you're looking to start nursing, kudos. But be aware that you are going to have to put yourself first. There is no more, you know, the nursing stereotype of, you know, you're not a good nurse unless you give everything to everybody else and leave nothing for yourself. You know, you're being called in and they're using guilt to get you to come in. Oh, your buddies are so, you know, we're so short staffed. Like, oh, do you really think you're going to leave your buddies in this kind of position? Yeah, sorry.
You know who could probably write a good book? Your husband. About, and I don't know if he's in the medical profession, but
so he was a paramedic. Now he's infection control.
Okay, yeah, but understanding, because if you live with a nurse or you live with a doctor or whatever, you hear these stories, and it's really important to kind of let them vent on you and understand that, wow, you know, I thought my job was tough. Yeah, go ahead.
The ongoing joke is you're never going to top a nurse's story. Like you're just not. So don't even try. And if we are in the sharing mood, you are going to have to sit there, and we're probably still only telling you half of what actually went on, because we do want to protect our loved ones, because we understand that unloading on them isn't super healthy either. And this is why a lot of nurses end up with paramedics and police and fire. You know, it's just, you can't help but find these people who then also 100% get how people can be when they're in crisis. So
how was my day today? Well, Photoshop crashed.
I had my aunt, she retired a nurse, and at one time she was married to a cop, and of course that ended badly, because I mean, cops and nurses really should not be together.
Really? There's so many times. One of the guys I've interviewed, his wife was a nurse and he was a fireman, and she financed his no money. She put all his no. He went to the Carlton Sheets. Remember the Carlton Sheets, no money down investment thing? She put all her credit cards to put him through school. The guy's a billionaire now. He was on Flipping Boston. He was the chief guy in that. Dave, I can't remember Dave's last name now. But great couple. I mean, and her faith in him was really. But he wasn't cut out to be a career fireman. That was probably a part of it too. But you know, just seeing them, I thought that was a really beautiful couple. The fact that she believed in him enough to kind of go so far into debt to kind of put him through this program, and he came out of it. I thought, wow, what a great love story that was. So,
yeah, more often than not, those couples will wind up in divorce because just of like the high rate of addiction that are in both of those careers.
Oh yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah, cops and firemen can both be alcoholics. You could understand how that happens. Yeah.
I want to say that nurses could potentially beat them hands down.
Yeah.
Nobody ever looked at the nurses.
Yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate your insight on this. Now, you talk about, because it's not just the books. You got a whole thing going on with the website. Now, it's hard for me to kind of grasp what you got going on there. You got courses or something?
Yeah, so starting with, nursing intuition courses and just kind of going down the rabbit hole of, okay, so here's the book, you've enjoyed the book, maybe you want to kind of learn a little bit more about how specifically to apply this to you. So a little bit more in depth, maybe not nearly as scientific as the book needs to be, and kind of coming at it from a couple of different angles. So it's just, another way to be able to support nurses. Have got, a line of journals that are on Amazon right now, 100 shifts, a nurse's care planner. So it's just to take, day by day, how's your shift gone? Because you're running like crazy, you can't really keep track of what's going on in a day. So what was good? What was bad? What did you learn? Did you have enough water? Did you actually have a break? Did you have time to pee? How many steps did you do? Did you actually, were you fully staffed, kind of thing? And the hope is that when new nurses have that first really big knockdown with either a patient loss or a mistake or something that's gone on, and they start questioning themselves, and a lot of people are walking away at this point now versus the rest of us who just trudge through like idiots. You can go back into your own journal and be like, oh, look at that time. Like, I advocated for that patient. I knew what I was doing with that medication. I was able to help with that procedure, and I knew what I was doing, kind of thing. It's all these little spots of growth that happen so rapidly in the first couple of years that we end up just kind of brushing off. But really, they add up to an entire career. So it's just another way.
I love that you are giving people advance notice on what to expect on, because coming back to the relationship part of it, my wife can lose somebody, one of her patients who she hasn't seen in 3 years, just passed, and it sent her into a funk. And as her spouse, I have to give her that space, and not because my propensity is to think I did something wrong. This is on me. What's going on with her is always my fault.
I mean, good for you for coming at it from that angle. I don't know how many people actually come at it from that angle.
Yeah, I think if you're married to a nurse, I talk to your husband. I think he probably feels the same way. When you're with a nurse who takes cases to heart, and things go wrong, you have to have provide that space for her, be able to listen, but then at some level you have to try to remember, it's work to try to remember, this is not my fault. She's going through some stuff here, with the empathy or with a heartbreak or whatever that comes with the job, and it's not, I didn't do something. In this case,
it's hard, right? Because it's this baggage that you don't quite want to bring home, but you can't quite leave at work. Right. And you're stuck in this middle ground of like, there are patients that I continue to carry with me. And
I love that you're educating young nurses to expect this and to understand that this is going to be part of their journey. We are kind of out of time here, but I just want to, the format of this, is it like a video thing where you meet with them in this kind of way, or is it like a writing back and forth when you work with these nurses? What's the format?
Yeah, so format is videos of me just kind of like walking you through it. There are exercises. There are points where we can talk one-on-one if that's what you're needing, like you're just not grasping it, and maybe you and I just talking nurse to nurse can figure it out. So if nothing else, it's just another way to support nurses, especially new ones.
The book is called Nursing Intuition. The website is nursegen2ns.ca. And there's plenty more. There's plenty like writings and other things besides this one book, right?
Yeah.
Well,
find me on Amazon.
I appreciate you being here. They can just go to your website and get a link to Amazon, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the Amazon thing can be a little tricky now with the ca.com, .ia, .ab. Every different country has a different Amazon right now. We are worldwide.
If you search Jennifer A. Johnson, RN, just in the search bar, my author page should come up, and then it should link all the different availabilities of everything.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing your insight and your experience with my audience. Hopefully, some people will be interested enough to pick up the book and listen. It's not just for nurses. It's not just for doctors. It's for you and me. So thank you for being here, Jen. Have a great day.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Pleasure. Bye for now. The book is covering my face, and we always love.
Initially, when it said nursing intuitions, I really thought that was about breastfeeding. So I was slightly surprised to find out that it wasn't not about that. So now I have to get a different book because I wanted to learn how to breastfeed.
I really wish your mother was here right now. I every time I hear about that woman putting you in your place, I get more respect for her, and I wish I could employ her services to do that here. Anyway, I have to do a little bit of news. There's a whale that is a spy. I don't know if you know, and we have to get to Mitch Carson very quickly. But there is a whale, a spy whale. Do you know about the spy whale? It's in the news. You don't care about spy whales, do you? I think spy whales are the most fascinating thing in the news today.
Are those belugas?
That's a beluga, yeah, a beluga spy whale.
Oh, those are, yeah.
Catherine, the Princess of Wales, announced
If it
she
was
has
a white
completed
whale, you wouldn't like
chemotherapy and is eager to return to work as she enters a new phase of recovery from cancer.
In a personal statement released by Kensington Palace, Princess Kate shared the update less than 6 months after revealing her cancer diagnosis. As summer ends, I can't express the relief I feel having finished chemotherapy. The past 9 months have been incredibly challenging for us as a family, Kate said. Jessica Oakley reporting.
Vietnamese officials are working to manage the aftermath of Super Typhoon Yagi, which swept across the country with winds of 125 miles per hour over the weekend, leaving 59 dead and hundreds injured.
Most of the fatalities were due to landslides, according to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Among the victims were a family of 4 in Hoa Binh province in the mountainous northwest, and 6 people in Lao Cai province on the China border. 9 people were rescued, but 2 remain missing. Benjamin Wright reporting.
There is no evidence that a well-known beluga whale, which lived off Norway's coast and whose harness sparked speculation of being a Russian spy, was shot dead last month, Norwegian police said.
The beluga, which was first seen in 2019 near Russian waters wearing a harness labeled Equipment St. Petersburg, was found dead in Rizavika Bay in southern Norway on August 31st.
Leave me alone.
Experts examined the carcass after it was lifted from the water with a crane at a nearby harbor. Joseph Eckerson reporting.
The Justice Department has charged 2 California individuals who are accused of leading a white supremacist group with the goal of sparking a race war in the United States.
This group is accused of plotting to kill high-value targets and encouraging its followers to carry out terror attacks worldwide. Dallas Humber and Matthew Allison are alleged to have led a group calling itself Terrorgram, which was created on an encrypted social media platform. Jim Kender reporting.
This is the latest news headlines.
Oh, there's more? Is there more, Al? Al, is there more, Al? I really would like to bomb the news.
New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu sprang into action to assist a contestant who began choking during a lobster roll eating contest.
Sununu said he quickly moved to aid the Hampton Beach lobster roll eating competition contestant after noticing the man choking. Amid the excitement, I was the first to see that the gentleman at the far end of the row was choking, so I stepped forward and immediately began administering the Heimlich, Sununu stated. Kevin Sanders reporting.
A search is underway for an American tourist who went missing after being caught in strong rip currents while swimming off a Puerto Rico beach, according to the U.S. Coast Guard.
The woman was swimming with 2 friends off Condado Beach in San Juan when all 3 were caught in rip currents on Sunday, the Coast Guard reported. Bystanders and authorities helped rescue her 2 friends, both U.S. citizens, but the woman, a 22-year-old from Indianapolis, remains missing. Kyle Norris reporting.
A 4-year-old girl in Arizona was declared dead after being found unresponsive inside a hot car in Buckeye, Arizona, according to police.
Another dead kid in the car.
It has been over 100 degrees in Arizona for 12, 15, 20 days in a row or something, and they're still leaving their fucking kids in the car.
I think it's been over 100 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona since 1846. I gotta, before we meet Mitch Carson, I gotta ask Ron, why does it make you happy to know a guy was choking on lobster roll?
Well, it's just
he's giggling. He's loving it.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with is like George Sununu and a guy choking. It just sounds like a thing. It just sounds like a setup bit from him.
It does. Yeah. For the love of God, chew. I don't know. Mitch Carson is here. Mitch Carson is a celebrated professional speaker and closer who has spoken on stages in 63 countries and produced over 2,000 live events in 19 countries. Been a home shopping network pitchman who knows how to sell anything, even terrible comedy. Does that make you feel better? Anyway, he's here now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mitch Carson to Coffee with Doug. Mitch, good morning.
Good morning. You know, before we begin, may I ask, how do I learn about breastfeeding?
I think trial and error. Trial and error.
Okay. All right. I want to incorporate that into my daily routine.
I'm not sure we want to learn about breastfeeding. I don't. He does. I'm not sure.
Henderson's opened the door, and he's right up my alley. Yeah. So I've been straight for about 64 years, so I want to continue.
All right, cool.
Well, I was off the wagon, and I'm trying to get back on.
All right, good. Yeah, I'm right after you. Take one, I'll take the other. Okay.
We got it.
His hands were soft and supple.
I couldn't resist.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Yeah, that's good. High five right in the middle.
There you go.
Right. So, Mitch, the audience you're speaking to is, for the most, I should say, for the most part, probably a good percentage, at least 25% to 30% of the audience are people in entertainment who have a real difficult time selling themselves as far as booking, as far as getting an agent or manager, all that stuff. They are people who are by nature focus on their art and their craft, the business side of it, the pitch side of it, the selling side of it. Selling themselves as a brand is the biggest challenge for most of the people in that space. So that I just want to let you know that's who really I think could use your help today in understanding branding, personal branding, and how to pitch yourself confidently, or can you do it for yourself? Do you need somebody else to be working in your corner on the business end of it?
I would say yes and no. The problem you just described has the same solution, albeit I spoke to a group, this has been 25 years, to a group of proctologists in Las Vegas at a conference. And they have
I'm already laughing. All right.
Well, you know,
did they find my flowers? That's all I want to know.
They were so stiff. It was a small crowd. It was a breakout room, and I only did this one session before I did the main stage. And I spoke to this group, and they had a marketing problem. And they were so uptight, literally, compared to other physicians. I had to default to the butthole jokes. And they finally cracked. Finally cracked. And the problem I shared then is no different than entertainers. They're good at their practice of investigating rectums. That's no different than a comedian, than a dancer. Their personal brand is what needs to get amplified.
Right.
And in a positive way. You know, there's the old adage, any media is good media. Sometimes true, not always true, depending on the field you're in. And I don't think it helped the lady who started Dare getting pulled over for drunk driving and getting arrested for drunk driving.
Yeah.
Remember that program in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a problem for her. That type of press didn't hurt her fundraising.
Right.
And so you got to stay careful about what you do. And 20 years ago, I would have said social media doesn't matter. It's a fad. Today, it's a reality and a big one. I think we all have to be aware of what we post. And I think all four of us are of the age that TikTok may not be our platform and an entertainer of our platform. I mean, for me to shake my body, I'd have to pay somebody to look. So I'd have to buy paid ads on TikTok for me to shake and get observations and or views. Yeah, that's not the right platform. My point is you have to market yourself where your audience is, or the people that are going to give you money or give you placements.
Good point there. Now, I would say on the TikTok stuff, Ron is probably very immature because he spends his day not producing for TikTok, but pulling up the weirdest videos from TikTok and sharing them with us.
Can I be added to the list? Okay, thanks, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
But understanding what you should be putting out there and having a good sense of what your personal brand should look like is not always intuitive for artists as well. I mean, we know what we present on stage, but we don't know how to package that in a very very
tightly wrapped box.
Yes, thank you very much. So yeah, and understanding that. So branding is not necessarily part of the mindset of an individual, and that's what, like, sometimes it takes an outside perspective to say this is your brand. You're not seeing it.
Well, I'd like to bring up if I may, the definition as I see it, and I have to say I stole it from somebody else, so I can't take full credit. I just modified it a little bit, but this opened my eyes. And what is a personal brand? It's what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Right.
You'll know exactly where you stand when you're not present. Another earlier version of that would be, okay, if you do blind surveys about your brand, your customer service, how people perceive you, you might get some accuracy and good feedback. And, if you put your ear to the door, you'll know what your wife thinks of you when she's talking to her mother or her best friend. You'll know exactly where you are. It's all about perception.
Boy, that cuts deep, Mitch. I tell you, you just
I've been
cut my
married
heart
and I've
right
been
out.
unmarried, so I know the story. Yeah.
Well, also now, if you're married, if you have a pet, that's also how you can tell, because the way they talk to the pet, they'll say to the pet, "So, was your husband was your dad a lazy bum today, or did he get the stuff done I asked him to get?" So they'll say
so
things,
true.
Yes,
So
they'll
true.
say it to the cat or the dog what they want to say to you, but they're
Oh, that's accuracy. That's very true. The animal receives the absolute essence of where their head and heart is at.
Wow.
Oh, that's true. I haven't heard that, but you're right on the money, man.
Well, that's part of my routine. I was auditioning it for you.
No, I love that. That's really good. I'll if I can borrow that and give you credit, I will.
You may borrow it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if you have a possible insight to a solution for this, but in the entertainment world specifically, social media, because people can tend to put out a lot of fake stuff and artificially boost numbers, that the brand that we're often selling to is venues or clubs and things like that. They get the wrong impression. All they care about is those numbers, and they are basing it way too much on social media, but not necessarily on what they see as you putting out the branding message that you're putting out there for yourself. They're just looking at numbers and being very specific about making decisions based on somebody's TikTok numbers or somebody's Instagram numbers and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any?
I've got comments about that. I mean, perfect, a relevant example. And it's a little bit different. Yesterday, I had the embarrassing revelation from a man who looked at my YouTube channel and a person who was claiming to be an expert, and because she had 20 times the amount of YouTube subs that I did. But my shorts are getting 4,000 and 5,000 views on my YouTube channel. This is me personally. Not my long form videos, but my shorts, which is, this is good. It's building up and it's, wow, this is really taking off. Alternatively, this lady who's got a network and she's got many, many more subscribers, her shorts are getting a couple hundred views.
Right.
And he said, this is a clear case that those subscribers were purchased. So if you look at the data, you can then extrapolate and realize, okay, these are genuine subscribers, because if they came in organically through the normal way of creating content and building over time, there is a formula, there's a tie back, a correlation between subscribers and views with your videos in YouTube. Same holds true on other platforms. If you have, like, I think I have 13 or 15,000 on my LinkedIn followers on LinkedIn. And when I when I upload a post or an article, I'm going to have certain number. It also depends on the article, how many people interact with that, because I have a greater breadth than someone who only has 500. And the same holds true on all these platforms. It falls within the algorithmic range of here. If it's outside of that, you have to look at the cause. So some of these numbers that you're talking about, I know that they're looking because they're determining, okay, how many people can they bring? How many will follow into the club? How many people will tweet about this or X about it today? How many people will comment? That is a good measure, but they have to do a little bit deeper digging than what is there on the outside. They have to look at the inside and look at the quality.
What's your take on specialization in niche? Because I'll briefly where I'm going with this, because what you just said, I do a lot of shorts on YouTube. The shorts I do are nostalgic. They are looking at comedic profiles, musician profiles, those kind of things. And they will get a lot of traffic, 250,000 views per month.
Wow.
But that doesn't necessarily relate to more views for the live streams, because this is not that. So I'm putting out stuff that is getting subscribers and traffic to my YouTube channel, but they are not necessarily people that are going to be interested in this format of live streaming, extended 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours yesterday. They were there for those 1 minute shorts. So I feel like, what I'm doing is counterproductive in that, although I love those people and I love doing that content. But the question becomes, am I hurting my personal brand by not specializing, not niching down, as they say?
Oh, I think there are riches and niches. Another example, the plastic surgeons make more than the internal medicine doctor that everybody goes to for a cough and runny nose.
Right.
And, the orthopedic surgeon makes more money. They're specialists and they get special compensation. So if you can niche down, the buckshot isn't as accurate as the 30-06 with the scope. And that's what will take down the better audience, is absolutely specialize as much as possible.
Yeah.
Niche down. That's my opinion.
I agree. I agree with that on the success level. Here's my, and most people in entertainment get bored with niching down. You know what I mean?
You want boredom or bucks?
I know that's the conundrum, isn't it? It's like, do I want to feel personally fulfilled by what I'm doing and that I'm doing what I want to do, or do I want to serve the customer? And that's where it comes down. This is the message that a lot of people in the arts need to hear, and get a sense of reality around it. And that's what are we in it for ourselves and being selfish? Do you want to be a happy, contented, starving artist, or do you want to make money?
Well, I think you could do both. And the question is, are you focused on a big screen TV and skinny children, or do you want to, work hard and focus and have, a yacht versus a big screen TV and skinny and fat kids, probably eating too much sugar, but at least they're content. They're well fed. They can always diet. Skinny kids can lead to a problem. And you may not stay married too long. You got to take care of your home first. Finances are important.
Right.
And comfort. It gives you freedom. Money is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You can express yourself artistic. It's a balance, I would say. I think it's a balance.
Yeah, I think we have this conceptualization of money as being a bad thing. I don't know where that came from, but
misinterpretation of the Bible.
It came from people with money who didn't want the people without money to come for their money.
Say that again?
It came from people with money so that people without money would not come for their money.
I don't know.
Rich people says it's not all that great. You don't need money.
I'm talking about specifically in the artist mentality that we kind of can't marry the two, commerce and art.
Absolutely untrue.
Yeah, I know, but we
Jim Carrey. He wrote a $1 million check.
Yeah,
some years ago.
There are enough rich artists that we should be able to dispel that myth. But I think that's where we start off. A lot of us start off and like feeling like I know a guy who has been in a musical situation for 35 years, and he says he will never play a for pay show. He does everything for free. And it tries to guilt me into the fact that I'm doing things professionally. Like you're charging for it. Like there's something impure about it. I was like, well, we all need to make a living. This is part of how the world goes around. It goes around. I could not, if I didn't charge for it, I could not do it. I'd have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay for scissors to trim that stash. How are you going to do that? You got to eat.
I think there was a rumor going around that I had to oil it every day.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I
don't know. So now what I have in the link in the description and what's going across the screen is like a Calendly type link. I don't know if it's Calendly lead connector, same as Calendly, same kind of thing. But that's for people who want to work with you. How do they work with you? Is it a one-on-one? Are you like coaching? Is that?
Well, here a couple things. I do a few things with regard to why I'm here. I live in Las Vegas. I'm a TV show host on NBC Channel 3. So I have a weekly show there where it's called Amazing Authorities, where I profile speakers, authors, and CEOs specifically. And if those people want network television credibility, I can get them on my show and 4 other networks, guaranteed, all done in 2 days. And it's fee. It's for fee. It's different than other PR agents because PR agents charge usually X dollars a month. If in New York, it's 10 grand plus a month with a 6-month contract because I paid them before. I know this personally. That's what pushed me to get into the field myself. And I'm able to create tremendous results just in 2 days. And I position people to get on television quickly, real TV.
Right.
Yeah, real. I mean, what would I say?
Broadcast TV
broadcast
with
television with hundreds of millions of dollars of branding built into it.
Right.
Much like last night, it was ABC television. I can get them on ABC here in Las Vegas, Channel 13.
And I don't have to eat any cats or dogs to get on?
No, and you don't have to avoid the question 17 times about how she effed up at the border. She strategically avoided that every time the question was raised. I need to coach Trump on debating because he got his ass boxed.
I don't think he's all that coachable.
I know that's the problem. He got his ears boxed in last night.
Yeah. So now in Las Vegas, do you work with people in the arts, or is this just corporate?
No, I've worked with all sorts of people, and the arts. Here's the misnomer. Again, just my opinion. They think everybody thinks their business niche is different. The problem is exactly the same. It's always the same, with a few tweaks. With the arts, it's the same. How well exposed are you? And if you've got pictures, if you are a Christian humorist, as an example, you are a humorist in the Christian community, which is a great niche with a lot of money. Obviously, you can't come in cursing. There can't be any social media of you dropping F-bombs. Wouldn't work for that community. But if that is your niche, and boy, is that a huge niche, if you had a Christian comedic routine, you could get booked all the time. And your social media needs to reflect clean comedy. And then that can be bolstered through network television, getting on radio shows, getting on your show, if that's your routine. I think yours is a little bit more expansive because we've talked about a couple topics that may not be Christian friendly necessarily, starting with the breastfeeding. Could be, but they would do it in private, just not public. They're the dirtiest of all.
But to be a Christian comic, you have to sell your soul to the devil as well.
Oh,
wow. That I'm going to have to ponder after the show. That'll make my mind go from my very religious upbringing as a Quaker as a young boy.
What is the going rate on souls these days?
I don't know. I'm soulless, so I don't know. So Ron
the soul rate has really been diminished, which is why a lot of religions have to meld together so that they can pool together their funds.
Well, the guy I worked with in the 70s, I used to say to him, "You're my soul brother," as we went to the clubs. But that's another topic.
Souls have been devalued. Souls have been devalued over the years.
All right. I have, because of what you just said, the problem is always the same. I have a very close friend who has been. I hope she's not listening.
Okay, I won't tell her.
Tune out. She's been in the same business for now. Related business. She's a hairdresser. Hello, Vivian. I'm talking about you. But she's a high-end hairdresser, a protege of Vidal Sassoon, worked with Vidal very closely, and all the elites in the hairdressing world. 25 years ago now, somebody said to her, how would you like to make money while you sleep? By putting on an online course teaching what you know online. And she had... Yeah, she'd been putting out. Started with Hair Designer TV, and then somebody with some business acuity said you need to rebrand as your name because your brand is your name. People know who we are. So her problem is not the visibility or the publicity of what she's doing. It's that I've said this to her, and if she's listening, I'm saying it to her again, just in a different way, not a direct eye-to-eye contact. Is that she wants people to buy what she's putting out there rather than putting out what people want to buy. And I think that's so her problem is not visibility. It's insisting that I want to do what I want to do. I'm not really concerned with what they want to buy. I'll make them want what I have. And that's a much different, a bigger challenge, and I think a lot of people in entertainment come at it through the same perspective. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to change my act. I'm just going to try to get people to want my act, and that's a whole different challenge. And I don't know if any degree of publicity can overcome that.
I don't know if I'm just going to speak for myself, because when I speak for other people, they tell me I'm wrong. But it's not that I want people to like my act. My act is my act. I am who I am. But I would like to find people who are of like mind who would like it. I'm not trying to say, okay, if you don't like my kind of comedy, I'm not trying to convert you. That's fine. This is my comedy. I would like to find people who enjoy my comedy and bring them into the pool.
Right.
You got to find more. I believe you've got to find your own tribes people. We all have our own little tribe. And if people are going to love you. And one of the things my mother told me, great wisdom. She died young, but she had this wisdom. She said, Mitch, because I have a bit of a personality, strong personality. She said, Mitch, a third of the people are going to love you. A third of the people are going to hate you. And a third of the people aren't going to give an F about you. And you got to migrate to those with whom you connect. And those are going to be the people, because the ones that are, I mean, look at the perfect example. You either love Trump or hate him. He's the most divisive president in history. And he's got some people that would die for him. And then he's got people that would love to take a shot. They wish the bullet was 1 inch closer. So it's the extremes. I think in the case of, what is your first name, GD? Is it GD? Is that what we go by?
Oh, no, my first name is Glenn.
Glenn.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Glenn. Yeah, I would say, Glenn, my comment to you is absolutely find the people that have the same feathers that you wear in your, that are in your cap. And everybody else, you can't please everybody. You can't please everybody. It's just a reality. We all have good chemistry here. I can feel it. When I was listening in the waiting room before you brought me in, I said, this is going to be fun this morning. I could already tell. And Ron's kind of quiet, and he's going to have his one-liners that are going to be inserted. I like that. The chemistry is important. If you guys were uptight, religious people of some sect, I'm not going to even identify religion, I might have challenges with that. Yeah. But if given that we're all here communicating, there's a good synergy and connection, we're congruent, at least on air here, wonderful. We could have a fun time. I think, Glenn, you're going to have to find those people where you have a fun time, and F all the rest.
I don't know. Thanks for pointing it out. I wasn't aware that Ron was quiet. GD, did you notice Ron being quiet?
We have a Ron?
Who is he?
Whoa, when did we get a Ron?
Ron. Yeah, Ron. He's being quiet only at this point. I don't know. Maybe he's the most gregarious of all of us.
I just thought he was a mute, to be honest with you.
I was wondering if his lips were sewn together. I don't know. He's still on that tit joke earlier. So
yeah. But now, part of I get what you were saying about and your mother. I think your mother's percentages don't apply to me exactly. I think it's probably 3% love me.
Okay.
90% don't give a fuck about me, and 7% hate me.
Okay.
But yeah, but
You
in
get
theory,
the model.
yeah, the model is good. But now part of it is understanding that the people you want, if you want the people who love you to have some uh, money to spend, money to spend, and the inclination to spend it. And I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of people in the arts is if I have a lot of people who love me, let's say, and they are over the age of people that they skew older, they're not inclined to go out to clubs and spend money and that kind of stuff. I need to really, I don't know, where do you compromise and say, I need to retarget my brand and kind of change my product offering, my value proposition to a different audience that actually has the money, or I'm just going to have to accept that the money's not there. Right.
No, I get you. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. I don't know how we because you don't want to compromise, especially if arts is a different kind of business, and some other things you can make some compromises like that. Artists always feel like this is. I got into it because I enjoy, and I thought this would be funny, or this is the kind of humor that appeals to me, or this is the kind of music that appeals to me, or this is the kind of movie I want to see made, and then you find out the audience wasn't.
Well, people buy what they want, not what they need. We don't need Mercedes. We buy it because we want it. We could all get by with a little piece of shit Hyundai.
Right.
I don't even know around. You know what I'm saying? A little putt, a golf cart that may have folding sides. And I had an uncle so cheap out of New York when I was growing up. He said I'd fly on the wing if it offered me a 10% discount. He was so tight. You know, he didn't care about that stuff. And he was so rich when he died, but he was so cheap, didn't care about those things. But I think the formula to find clients is starving crowd with money. Who wants your information has the capacity to pay. Who wants to buy your brain feed with the capacity to pay? I mean, I had a guy earlier this week, or was it last week on Friday, was referred by a client who's coming in. She wants all the media. She wants me to help her start her own TV show. I'm going to do that. She's outside of Philly. And then she referred one of her clients to me who called me up, and he immediately launched into, I want this. I want this. You can help me. I need to get my message out, blah, blah. Yeah, I've heard this. And I go, uh-huh. I'm nodding like the little doggy in the back of the car. And he said, but I know what's going to follow with the but. I don't have the funds to pay. I said, end of conversation. I'm not, look, I do charitable work. I do charitable work. Yes, I do. I'm 40 years sober, so I go around and speak to alcoholics all the time and help them because I've been blessed with that. I'm very open about it because I'm at the stage I don't give an F about what people judge me today. I'm long past that at 64. So I told this guy, I said, look, this is not my charity work. This is how I make my money and feed myself. You know, I use a razor. I don't have the oil on my mustache. And I said, look, no issue. When you're able to pay without all the drama and dialogue that you don't have the money to pay, call me back. But I cannot fix everybody's problems of not having the capacity to pay. Sorry.
You made Ron happy with that oil comment, and I
so funny.
I want, if I may, if I could,
I
just want to bring up something that happened with me. One of because I know I have like a niche performance.
Okay.
And at one of my shows recently, there was a couple that came to me after the show, and they said they're so glad they came. They were referred by another friend, and the friend said to them, I'm going to tell you about him, but you're the only people I know that I can tell, because they were almost like they were ashamed that they thought I was funny. It was like,
oh, jeez.
I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know if I can tell other people how funny you are because this is kind of raunchy. This is kind of bad, but I can tell you. And they liked the show. So now it's one of those things like, thank you for sharing, but Are you that ashamed that you like me that you can't tell?
You're a guilty
other folks?
pleasure. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
being a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, but your guilty pleasure doesn't spread. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a guilty pleasure, I'm not like Gaffigan. People aren't ashamed of Gaffigan. People's like, I think Gaffigan's funny. He's clean, blah blah blah. And they tell everybody. If I'm a guilty pleasure, I'm not saying I'm as funny as Gaffigan, but to people with that kind of sensibility, I'm as funny as he is. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they're not spreading the word because it's a guilty pleasure.
Well, you know what? You brought up the name that I have been guilty of enjoying Jim Gaffigan's work, but not sharing that with especially with comedians who I know who are not fans of his. I feel like I don't know. It's denial. Like I'm denying Gaffigan his due place in my respect
But
with other comedians.
Other people have that issue because Gaffigan is huge. Is what I'm saying.
know.
It's like I'm still a virtual nobody. I have to overcome the fact that I'm a guilty pleasure comic at the age of 64 when I don't have much time. I don't know when Gaffigan started and I don't know how old he is now, but I started at 55 as a pleasure comic. I'll be dead before enough guilty pleasure.
The show ends. I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to. I thought you were trying to brighten my day a little bit there. Give me something to hope for.
Man, I've been dead for years. I just refuse to acknowledge it.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Now, Mitch, I know the television show, but do you? I was under the impression that you help people create or refine the pitch. Their
100%. I do.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm just saying the deliverable. That the takeaway is the television guaranteed. So they have that credibility.
Do you coach them before they come on your show?
It's not even optional. It's required because my reputation's at stake before I pitch somebody. And this is network. Oh yeah, they must go through my media training. We must rehearse all of that before they get presented. I just don't call. It's only Las Vegas. I can work in other cities, but this is where I guarantee it. And I can guarantee for network because they all know me and they know that the people that I vet and train are ready. Because if you go on live TV, like this is a live show, you're streaming live. If you brought in somebody that wasn't trained or had never been on a camera, even the intimidation of possibly being on a Zoom we're on StreamYard. StreamYard like this might overwhelm other people. For us, it's a no-brainer because we do it every day. But for others, they might be petrified. So I need to make sure every guest, doesn't matter their background. I've heard King Kong come in. I'm going to be so good. And then when I even practice with them, they fail.
Yeah.
I must vet and train. Always.
I've had my share of those people. Publicists have sent me people who have never really done it before, don't know what to expect. And then they get here and they're like, whoa.
They're overwhelmed. It's like a deer in headlights. I mean, classic case. I had a show on CBS radio in LA many years ago, 25 years ago, part of the Clear Channel network on Saturday afternoons. And this lady I brought in, it was a financial show that I hosted for my client who was a mortgage broker. And I brought in my friend's wife as this 5'10", statuesque blonde, former Ford model with gigantic bazooms. And the room, everybody turns when she walks in, and she knew it. Had all the confidence, shoulders were back. She came in, this 5'10" bombshell, absolute bombshell, and sat down at the table. There were the 4 microphones going around. The engineer was in his booth. The call recipient was in her room, and we're all ready to go. We're counting down, and I saw her wilt like the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, where water was thrown on her, and she started, all of a sudden, the statuesque double D deflated to a flat chest and to a little girl that imploded. And I realized, oh shit, she started crying uncontrollably. So I had to mute her mic and take control. I didn't vet her. I assumed because she had gigantic bazooms and had this tall, who walked into the room, she was going to be ready for a radio show, not even a visual. This is 25 years ago before this. Can you imagine if she came on your show?
Yeah,
With the video with multiple men and all this. She just died. I had to, during the next commercial break, we took her off and I had to talk. Thank God it wasn't there was no visual element at that time.
Right.
I had to walk her and sit her on the couch until I could console her at the break. And I sent her home. She was going to talk about high-end homes in Hidden Hills, California, which is where the Kardashians live, and some other J-Lo lives there, this very expensive area in the San Fernando Valley. She was a broker, a realtor for one of the she made a lot of money, but without training, it's a different world. I'm sure you've had similar experiences.
I think I might have had her.
Yeah, okay, all right. You had her?
I think I might have had her.
So Mitch, my question is, because you said she was like a D cup or something?
Double D.
Double D. So I have to ask you this question then. What color were her eyes?
Blue. I got it, buddy. Yeah. Blue.
They were reddish brown with a little protruding thing that came out of them. Oh, those weren't. I'm sorry. Little nip in the air.
Glenn, I like that. Thank you. That was very 60s. Okay.
Yeah. Get it. So I mean, but the biggest problem, I think, most of the I keep saying most of the audience, it's a higher percentage than anything else in the audience, is these entertainers who really struggle with selling themselves, getting a pitch down, making that phone call, and knowing what to say when they make that phone call, send an email, and all that stuff. That's the biggest the challenge for some people. And a lot of people are so uncomfortable with it that they need somebody else to do it for them. It's just like not part of what their mindset is. They can talk, they can have all the confidence in the world on stage, but when it comes to talking business, talking turkey, and understanding where the value proposition is for both parties in this and who's going to get what out of it, that's where it falls apart. And I think that's where my audience needs the most help, or the biggest single chunk of the audience.
That's why we have agents.
Yeah.
That's why we have agents. Agents serve a purpose.
Right. But here's the thing. You have to be able to make that pitch to the agent. Well,
you got to get an agent who believes in you, who then can get involved with you. I think Mariah Carey's career was launched by her then boyfriend. I forgot. He had an Italian last name. I forgot his name. But he was the one that launched her. There are lots and lots of people. America's Got Talent, all those shows. These people are enormously talented, but they don't know squat about business. That's true with physicians. They may be the greatest technicians, but if they're not marketed correctly, how does it happen? It's like the pretty waitress that you see at the Denny's in Hollywood, California, hoping to be discovered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the people in the audience who might be a little curious, Mariah Carey was from this area. She went to a party and handed Tommy Mottola her tape.
That's it.
And then Tommy married her.
Yes. Yeah. He saw those double Ds.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I do some management work for another comic, and set some stuff up for him. And this is like one of the things we talk about a lot, making sure that, we're kind of like staying on brand and like putting them in the right places that kind of helps elevate what his brand, or however you want to phrase it. So it is very important. I completely hear what you're saying, that you have to have good messaging, and you just need the complete package, and you need
100%.
And you need people behind you that are like willing to believe in you. That's the toughest thing, is to get people to believe in you. Like this is the product we're selling. We know it's good. Now you got to believe in it a little bit.
I can't tell you how many comedians who have been on this program or have watched this program write me to ask me to invest in them, and like, wait a minute, when giving my time, giving you the platform is one thing, but if you're asking me to go to my bank and get some money out for you so I can invest in you, I'm going to really need totally to believe in you to the point where it's like I'm not just financially investing in you, I have to emotionally invest in you in the first place.
Well, like for us, our investment is we need the club to believe in us,
right,
a little bit, just to put you up on stage.
Yeah,
and it's a relationship. I think it's also a big part of this is relationships. Who doesn't owe you, but who wants to help you? And we're all human beings. Once we strip that out, the above the line, the numerator, but beneath it, we're all human beings. We bleed the same. We have the same feelings, regardless of what our packaging is, whether we're white, green, yellow, whatever. That means nothing. But beneath us, play the numerator denominator. Numerator and denominator. What's it? Denominator. Denominator. Thank you. It's been so many years, Glenn. I guess we're the same age. So it was a long time ago.
I'm 64. I'm 64. Matt's like 100 years old, but we're both
I
64.
understand. It happens, but we all age. But the common thread is we're human beings, and my connections as a professional speaker for many years. That's why I traveled so much. I never had to market myself. Somebody in the audience or a co-speaker who I shared with, I connected with, established a relationship, said, Mitch, I'm speaking in Egypt next month. The speaker who was going to cover one of the spots canceled. Would you like to fill in? And then that would lead to something else. That's been my entire career for 30 plus years.
I think that is great when that happens, Mitch, because I've had that happen to me a couple times now. I've been lucky. I produce comedy shows as well.
Oh, okay.
I did a show in Williamsport this weekend. I've been doing shows there now for a year. I've developed this relationship with the owner, and the last show I did there, he took me to another bar owner in town to meet him to do shows there. And then I was there just this past weekend, and he took me to meet another bar owner that's interested in
Bingo, Ron. That's case in point. What I did is have done for my career as a speaker, and I've way turned it down. I've got 3.5 million miles in the air, so I'm not traveling like that anymore. My body gets beat up. So now I like what I do, and I have relationships that are long-standing, so I can get other speakers booked. You're doing something with a different talent pool than what I do, getting content-rich speakers booked. Same formula. It's all relationships.
Right.
You can have the greatest media or one sheet that is required to get booked on podcast or possibly television shows. It's the same pitch of selling a comedian. If I were to sell Glenn to get on TV here, as an example,
you can't sell me anymore, right? That was done away with 1865. You can't sell me anymore.
Done. All right. The race card came up. Glenn, I wasn't going to go there. You did it. You're guilty.
I want my money back.
I got 2 witnesses. Dude, you said it. You're guilty. And
he is.
Yeah. All right.
I feel like I got gypped on that.
I got gypped. Yeah. So.
Mary Brunetti, who was one of these hairdressers I was talking about earlier in the day, she's a world-class. She used to say, people lead to people. That was her mantra. Like, people meet, and so everything is a possibility, and always be making those connections, always be networking.
Always be networking. Do you remember the book by Harvey McKay, Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty?
Yes.
Perfect metaphor. Perfect metaphor.
Yeah.
Ron, are you as successful as you are in your career of because of relationships, because people know you, like you, trust you? I mean, is that part of your formula for success?
Yeah, I think. Well, before my job got outsourced earlier this year, it was. But no, yeah, I'm very good at building relationships. I like relationship building in general.
Sure.
Even though I hate talking to people at first, normally. But
I know. I mean, you're opening up now. This is good.
But like I've overcome a lot of that. But yeah, the networking and the relationship building is pretty much essential in anything, but especially in comedy.
Yeah.
In the business of comedy and meeting club owners, other comics, so you can meld it all together.
Yeah. So, Mitch,
Yeah.
now we talked about because in every sales proposition, you qualify the buyer, and you
Yeah.
already mentioned that if you don't have the money, you're not working with me.
I'm
But
not a charity.
no, I appreciate that, and I think most buyers appreciate that upfront, knowing that we can't do business until I'm ready with all my ducks in a row, and these are your qualifiers for me as a customer. But the money is the money all of it, or in other words, is there any time where somebody comes to you, I want publicity, I want the help that you can provide in getting me visibility for my brand, and you look at them and say your brand is not ready. It's not that they have the money, but there's another issue. Is there another reason that?
Yes, that it happens, but rarely. And here's why. I think it starts with mindset. And if someone believes they deserve to be on television, deserve to have an article written about them, about their greatest widget or service in Forbes or Entrepreneur Press, as an example, something that's unique about them, most of the time they've got the assets to back it up. And I'm careful in saying that. Most of the time, not all the time.
Right.
And it financially cost me. One of the things I do is I train speakers how to sell from the stage. And I had a group speaking for me, 38 speakers from around the world, paid me a lot of money to come to Dubai. And then we went over to Bahrain. They all did very well. Only 35 could go over to Bahrain after we did the speaking engagement in Dubai because they had visa issues, couldn't get into Bahrain. So I only had 35. The big problem, and here's the lesson there, and I learned this the hard way. We were going to get government funding for the venue and all the food, which cost me $8,000. If I had checked all of their LinkedIn profiles, which is incredibly important in the Middle East to make sure that they were all-star status and filled out completely, I would have been given the $8,000 grant. Instead, I had to pay out of my pocket for the venue and all the food for all the dignitaries that came to this event. It was an international event held in Manama, which is their capital and the main university.
Wow.
Really a mess up. I assumed because I got them all on TV, CNBC, Arabia, over in Dubai. I delivered on my part. We had a great event, great tourism. We did things together, super photography, branding photography taken, active photography, all about building their brand. Except a group of them, 17 of them, did not have fully developed LinkedIn profiles.
Wow.
So to answer your question, had I known that, I would have had to have denied them to go to Bahrain.
Right.
Because that hurt me.
I wonder how, because people ask me for my LinkedIn profile all the time, and I'm like, I'm on LinkedIn, but it's not going to tell you about who I am. It's going to tell you about who I used to be when I had a day job forever ago.
You can post these shows there. You can post shorts now on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think we're on LinkedIn right now.
You might be live casting, but I'm just saying they're accepting shorts. They have brought themselves up to speed to where the market is moving.
Very
it's these
cool.
27 to up to a minute long segments that are just snapshots of us.
Wow.
Like I'm sure you could create a bunch of shorts out of. We're already at 2 hours. My word.
Yeah.
The amount of short, you could have 40, 50 shorts out of this.
My life is being consumed by cutting up shorts. It's like I didn't get into I didn't start life thinking, gee, when I get old, what I really want to do is spend all my day chopping up video into 1 minute segments that have some relevance or some value to them. It's not the life I had envisioned.
Or when you spend time cutting those up and you get like 3 fucking views on it.
No, Mitch, I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to apologize to you because I'm going to apologize for cutting you off earlier because you had said I don't usually apologize for cutting people off.
Okay,
but I want to learn from you. And you were saying if I were to sell Glenn and I cut you off with the thing about you can't. I don't think you can sell me. You
Right.
never got to finish that thought, and I was hoping it was something pertinent that I could actually use in the future.
Oh, I think so, but yeah, I think you inserted something humorous right at that point.
Yeah,
not
that would be a first.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't humorous. Oh my God, we went back to the race thing. Shit. I mean, I'm glad we're laughing about it. At one time, well, let's just say, Glenn, when we were young, we were both born in 1960, I presume.
59, but yeah, close enough.
59. All right, you're almost 65 then.
Yes.
All right, coming up, because I just turned 64 last week.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, if we were going back in our youth, that might not have been so funny. Today, I'm glad we can laugh about it, being baby boomers and being mature and just like, oh man, that's pretty funny.
Well,
That
it's been funny in my old neighborhood. I grew up with my mother. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off again.
Yeah.
Damn it. I can't learn.
It happens every single guest, every single sentence.
Yeah, but this time I feel like I need to be learning something and I can't stop my mouth. But when I was growing up, my mother used to say there are no bad words, only bad intentions.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we were allowed to say anything we wanted to say if we weren't saying it in a hateful way.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that's good. She had a nice mom, clearly.
Yeah. No, she was a terrible human being, but she had
I miss her. I miss her. I can't tell you how much I miss her. I think about her every 5 seconds.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So again,
an
I
older
apologize,
woman.
Mitch.
Yeah. All right. Oh, what I was saying, the easiest way to sell somebody to get on television. I mean, there are a few ways. May I mention those? How do you get booked on publicity?
Please.
I wouldn't have been booked today on the show if you didn't look at my balance sheet of my media or my background.
That's true.
It's like we all have a balance sheet, using an accounting term to put it together. And if I were to sell you as an example, if you said, Mitch, I want to get on network television, and this isn't a pitch, I'm just like anyone else. The easiest way to get somebody booked for most corporate, I haven't worked with comedians directly as an example, or have you written a book?
Yeah.
Easy, because you got a unique thumbprint. We've all got a unique thumbprint. But if you've written a book about your comedic experiences, traveling the country on this stage, that stage, this platform, people relate to stories.
Absolutely.
Stories sell.
Came up yesterday in yesterday's conversation because we had a publicist, a lady who actually runs a PR firm, and she wrote a book. And I said, and she sends me a lot of authors. The problem is, and I don't know if it's a problem, but the issue is that they write a book being as their authority piece. This is going to get me, and then I treat them as if they're authors, as if authorship is what they're really interested in because we're here to pitch your book. No, it's not really about your book. You just wrote the book to further what it is you really love to do, and that message gets lost with me sometimes, confusing, because I am interested in authors who wanted to be authors from the time they were kids and are authors for the purpose of being authors. And then I'm also interested in other subjects, but it's not always clear to me when I have a Meet the Author segment on that author just wrote that book to further something else. Yeah.
Well, I look at a book. I'm going to go back to Glenn a little bit on this. A book is a credentializer.
Right.
You must be somebody, and we're all of the age. Nobody here is under 30. We're all over 30 and then some, in some cases, certainly Glenn and I. And I know it's shocking. A book is respected. Yeah. I haven't met an author in my life who has written a book and says, I want to put it back in my brain. No one. Yeah. It's never going to happen. Not before I push up daisies. It's not going to happen. You are unique already because you've done something that most people would not ever envision doing, or they're too lazy, or they'll prioritize watching the latest Netflix series instead of putting a pen to paper.
Right.
And writing a book already separates you from everyone else. It doesn't matter what field you're in. And if you want to be known, and that's what we're talking about here, because we're all in publicity of some way here, either managing people or directly, people buy perception. Is there any difference between a Tiffany diamond and one that you buy at Zales or one that you get at Target or Costco? It's the blue box. It's that blue and white paper. If you are dating a woman and you propose to her and that box is wrapped in Walmart, do you think you're going to get a Hoover that night? Or do you think the box that is wrapped in Tiffany in blue and white is going to get you a back rub?
I'm the kind of guy who will go for a zirconia and just lie to her, tell it, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, oil it up. Come on, let's get some oil.
Yeah, that Rolex I bought on the street for $5 has impressed a lot of people.
You mean that Rolex?
You get it. You get
that
it.
Rolex?
Yeah, from the Haitian that's on the street corner. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Well, I actually traded him a cat because he looked a little hungry.
Yeah, well, there you go. I knew it. He was Vietnamese. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, no, we have to wrap this up, but
Okay.
I appreciate this time you've given us today. This is kind of a long URL going along there. The link's in the description. I can't read that whole thing. It's
that's an interesting lead. I don't know that URL. I don't know how that came up.
It came off your Podmatch page. It says send listeners to.
All right. Well, that's the Podmatch deal, but it's actually getinterviewedguaranteed.com/meet with Mitch.
Okay.
That's how people can book an appointment.
You know what? I'll look that up and I'll put it in the description
Okay.
for people for the the on demand after this live thing.
All right.
I'll get that. I
All right.
wish I would have known that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. You know what?
Thank you guys. I had a lot of fun.
I might come out.
I did learn. I took quite a few notes from what you were discussing, even though you weren't talking about comedians per se. The formulas and the
universal. They're universal, Glenn.
And so I appreciate it. And
my pleasure.
Matt can tell you I don't usually listen to people very easily.
No, he doesn't listen.
No, but I do appreciate what you had to say.
My problem, and I'm sorry for 1865. Those were my nasty forefathers. Okay,
right.
Hey, look, you don't have to apologize to me. I'm fine with it. You know that's water under the bridge that I got
long time ago, man.
That's water under the bridge, and I crossed that water to lose the scent of the dogs. So I'm fine.
Okay, good.
All right, Mitch. I'll be keeping an eye on you. When I come out to Vegas, I'm definitely going to check you out.
Yeah, seriously. All right, guys. You have a good show. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you for being here. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Mitch Carson, folks. I'll replace this link, but for now, this link is there. If you want to work with Mitch, you can go click on that link that's in the description and set up an appointment for a preliminary consultation. I think is what that would lead to. I hope you guys learned something. You think that was? You think the audience got something a value out of that lesson?
I think they should have, but on the other hand, I don't know how many people in the entertainment industry are listening, and that's those are the ones who have benefited most. I think, like I said, I've done a lot of workshops on trying to understand what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, or what I'm failing to do. I'm not doing it right or wrong. I'm just failing to do. You know, and so. With some of the things that he said to me, not to me, but said, it was like, you've been watching television and somebody says something, you're like, they're talking to me. And sometimes it felt like that, even though he wasn't talking to me.
You know, when you're in the nut house, not that I have a whole lot of experience being in a nut house, but I did spend a 3-day mandatory suicide watch in the nut house when I was a young man. And one of the questions they kept asking me, do you feel like the radio or television is talking directly to you? I was like, why do you keep asking me that question over and over again? Why? I guess a lot of nuts really believe that. So just something to be aware of.
Oh no, I'm aware. I mean, like I said, I know he wasn't talking to me. I said it was as though. So
okay.
I understand the difference. I extrapolated information that he put out there generally and applied it to myself directly.
All right. Well, Ron has talked more today. I didn't before today. I actually didn't even know he had a voice.
I didn't know he had teeth. I had no idea he had teeth. Or at least I knew he had upper teeth. I did not know he had lower teeth until today.
I think he just got them. Wow, Tucker, that laugh, man. I got to meet this guy one time just so I can jump over a table and choke him.
Have been the best president for the black population.
That's my guy. That's my guy. He did so much for my people.
What do you mean?
Yeah, he did a lot for himself last night.
Yes.
See, I'm not sure. Again, I didn't watch. I read and I followed the Twitter feed and all this stuff. I did not watch it. Facial expressions and all that kind of stuff. I did note that her reaction to him with the. I really loved the way she handled him going off on that nutty cat and stuff. And she just kind of like, really, people are taking this dude seriously. She just laughed it off. But
Yeah, she did great. She did great at memeing him last night. They knew what the fuck they were doing. She did a fucking great job of memeing him last night.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that Mitch had mentioned, he said because she didn't answer the immigration questions. Now, I wouldn't have answered those questions either, mainly because the way they were written, some questions you cannot answer in a minute or two.
And there's some questions that are just set up. Like, do you still beat your wife?
Exactly. And so I would not have. She answered 60% of the questions that she was asked, and Trump answered almost zero.
Yeah.
Okay. So and the ones that she didn't ask, because the first question she didn't ask, my wife looked immediately at me and says, she didn't answer that question. I said, because that's a gotcha question. Right. If she had told the truth, the next thing would have been, well, the people don't feel that. And I said, you can't argue with feelings, and you box yourself in the corner. And so you have to either say, fuck their feelings are wrong, or so you just skip over it. Don't even address it. And so, yeah, there were a few times where she had avoided the gotcha question, but she did answer. She went back to her policy and she turned it on Trump and said, and he is an idiot to my right, you know.
Go ahead. What you got? Something to add there?
I was gonna say I did love the fact too when he went on that dumb abortion rant. It's like they're aborting babies at 9 months, and I forget the lady
after birth.
After birth, and I love that the lady reporter, I forget her name. She's like, she
Lindsay?
just looked at him and said, "That is not even legal in this country," and basically gave him the look of like, "You're fucking retarded, right?"
Her name was Lindsay something. I can't remember.
But these people are this is the problem. The people who are complaining he got fact checked and she didn't. You know what the key there is? She didn't put any absurd bullshit out there. That's why he got fact checked. If you're gonna say babies are being aborted after they're born or in the day before birth in the night, if you're gonna come out and say that, you're gonna get fact checked because it doesn't happen. She didn't come out with any absurd lies like that for them to feel the need. People aren't eating dogs and cats. People aren't aborting babies. Yeah.
He's lucky that they only fact checked those things, because he came out like it said. I've had to. Kamala Harris trolled him so beautifully. She says, "I invite you to go to one of his rallies."
Right.
Because you know what you'll see? He'll talk about Hannibal Lecter. He'll talk about boats and fictional characters, and he'll talk about windmills that cause cancer. She says, but you know what she won't talk about? He won't talk about you. He won't talk about your issues. And then she says, and you'll notice that his people are leaving his rallies early because
her skill as a prosecutor, knowing how to get the witness to lose his shit, was definitely, it comes across even in the transcript that as soon as she talks about rallies and people falling asleep and people leaving, that's going to trigger him to lose his shit. And he did, of course.
And then he goes, I have the biggest rallies. I've had the largest rallies of all time. And then he says, she has nobody at her rallies. And then he goes, and when she does have people, she shows them in a different light. And I think that he was like trying to make a race reference. Right. Like she doesn't have any black people or white people. I think that's where he was going, and that's what he cut himself off. I give him some credit for, because I think he was really going to go full on white hood Trump nationalist right there, but he didn't.
I want to hear, because I didn't watch it, but I read the transcript, and there's a line that he says that I got to hear him say it to see. He said, "I did get involved with the Taliban." Wait a minute. What? Wait, put that in quotes. What? That should be on the billboard. Yes. I did get involved with the Taliban. He did invite them to Camp David. But for him to say, I did get involved with the Taliban, I just can't imagine any context of him or any delivery of him saying that where people didn't say, what? Wait, what? You're admitting that you got involved with terrorists to make a deal with them because your idol, or you claim to be, Ronald Reagan. Definitely, that's one thing. We don't even though Iran-Contra he did, but we don't. The line in the sand, we don't negotiate with terrorists. That's been a Republican.
And here's the other thing: he didn't know the guy's name that he talked to. Okay, his name is Abdul. He's still there. He's still in charge. Abdul. Okay.
Hey, that's all of them. That's like a Spanish guy named Jose.
Right. His name is Hibatullah Akhundzada. Okay.
Yeah,
not Abdul.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, believe me, it isn't. I'm like doing it phonetically right off of that. I had to write it down. Because I can't say it. But the sheer fact that he just says his name is Abdul, it's like, and he's still there. Now he is right about one thing. It was a Muslim guy he talked to, and he is still there in charge.
Right.
That's it.
One thing that in the transcript that I'm really disappointed in. And listen, I know I'm not there, and I'm not, but she only made one reference, and it was in the very weakest way to point out that this guy is a fucking rapist. When we were talking about women's rights, and because Anderson Cooper did a very good job of it, Ben Marcellus from Midas Touch Network did a fabulous job of saying, this is who Donald Trump is. Let's go back over him saying he was proud and privileged to be able to monitor 15-year-old girls naked in the dressing rooms, that he did believe that he has the right to grab women by the pussy, because he said that in a court deposition when in his deposition he was asked, you said you have the right to, and they expect and they will let you just grab them by the pussy if you're a star. Do you believe that's true, and do you consider yourself a star? And in deposition, he admitted that, yes, he believes that he has the right and authority given to him by women, consensual, because he's a star, to be able to grab women.
It's been like that for millions of years. Right? Yeah. Now I think,
but there's not. My point was that wasn't rubbed in his face enough. I think really, in public, somebody needs to really, this is why I would love to see him in court. A prosecutor needs to say, you're a rapist, you're a sexual abuser, a rapist, and everybody needs to know that. So this talk about women's rights and women's, self-determination and all that stuff, you have no footing on that, because you see women as property and something you have the right to take or abuse any way you want by your own words. And I don't think
by the time they were at that point on the abortion joke, she didn't need to do that. Like, she had him spinning. Like 15, 20 minutes in, the wheels were definitely almost off the bus at that point.
Yeah.
And by 9:30,
yes,
it was like watching Mike Tyson fight me.
I went when she at that moment, I looked at the clock I hit the info. I said, I got to write this down, because I wanted to go back. I recorded it. I wanted to go back to that time. It was 9:30. And at that point, my wife slaps me on the arm and she goes, she's got him. She's got him. She's nailed him. And it's like at 9:30.
I hear what you're saying. Maybe it wasn't important for the debate, but it's important for me because I deal with so many MAGA people who don't believe he's guilty of the E.G. and Carroll stuff. He don't believe that he is what we know he is. Listen, he bragged about being able to fucking go backstage and see 15-year-old girls naked. If I bragged about that, I guarantee all my friends would disown me. Like, oh, wow, you're a fucking pervert. You're a kitty diddler.
No,
you're bragging about wanting to do 15-year-old girls.
There's a video of him coming down the escalator, and there's a young 11-year-old girl coming up the escalator. And he looks at her and he says something, and they said to him, he goes, she's attractive. And she says, and they said, like, she's 11. And he goes, well, in 7 years, I'm a dater.
Right.
Okay. That's on video. It's right up, like, the guy.
That's my only thing is. I just feel like the MAGA wall of denial about who he is needs to come down, and that was I understand. I didn't watch it, you guys did, and if she had him like on the ropes, spinning about abortions in the 10th month type of nonsense that he does, that's fine. But I really want people to understand that this guy is a rapist, and we didn't make these cases up. The DOJ didn't force this on Eugene Carroll or any of these people who came up.
The other thing that she had to do, and it's unfortunate that she had to do it, but she had to avoid coming off as the nasty, angry black woman. Okay, and the people that she's trying to reach, those who are like middle of the road, undecided people, those who are like close to Trump, teetering. Okay, they're not in her camp. They're still a little bit Trumpish, even though they're undecided. If she had beaten him with that, it would have turned them off completely.
That totally sucks. That totally sucks that she has to have that in the back of her mind as she's dealing with him. I know it.
Yeah, and so I think what she did was like a master class at prosecuting the case without becoming the meme that they would have projected. They would have forgotten what she had said and said, see that? She's just a nasty, angry black woman, and her message would have been lost. Right. So she had to balance that. That's why she said it once, because the next thing Trump, if she had done it twice, Trump would have been, she's nasty and angry and bitter, which I think it took him like 10 minutes to say that about Hillary, but I don't think he ever said that she was nasty.
Wow. Yeah, and what she did last night is what Joe should have done to him months ago. Yes. But Joe is just not capable because Joe is, he's fucking 80, 81. He's so used to that. Oh, we're going to have decorum during a debate and we're just going to go back. But
I think younger Joe Biden would have had that in him to do that.
Yeah, you're probably right. But especially with her background, and I agree with GD, it was a master class on literally how to break this old crazy man down. And she did. And did you notice she called him crazy without calling him crazy? She walked, it was so beautiful. She walked it right up to the line and like, let it go. It was, that was a beautiful moment.
And Ron, did you catch this moment? You remember this moment? She goes, this, and she pauses.
That's it's in the transcript. I think in the transcript it says silent. What does it say? Something like pregnant pause or something like that. Like,
but it wasn't just. It was that she said this, like in any other household, that'd have been like that motherfucker, that molesting, that no good piece of shit. But she's like that, and then everybody got to insert their words in it, and then she goes, "Man," or whatever it is that she said after that. Because I remember what.
Yeah, I think at that point her brain was telling her, "It's like, leave it go. You've got him. He's down on the mat. Just fucking keep pummeling his head."
I'm almost positive that was like a planned thing. Like she knew not to. Like she was like that, because it's like in comedy. Sometimes you don't put the word out there. You let the audience put the word in. Especially like if I'm doing a clean show and I want people to hear the N word without me saying it, I will lay out the map and I will hear that pause. I will create that pause, and I know that 90% of those people are hearing that word that I want them to, that I can't say. So I think
Evil saying, "Did you like his 'I'm speaking now' moment?" That doesn't come across in the transcript. I'm sure live it comes across as like
it came across like a dead duck. If he had done it earlier. But also he was trying to, because then he just doesn't sound familiar, because he got it from when Kamala said it. And so.
And what about his little bitch move at the beginning of the debate?
Tried to duck around her. He tried to hide behind his podium.
Yeah, it's like, what kind of man are you? Well, we obviously seen.
They showed a clip of the intro on Twitter. Somebody had a clip. She went out and he was just standing there. He was not. She went over to shake his hand. Now, I hope she had that hand sanitized, but good for her. I mean, that shows that at least she has a mind in civility where it doesn't even occur to him to be civil in any situation like that. I thought that was a good gesture.
And the beautiful thing about that is because he mocks her name, And so this was like almost like a Muhammad Ali moment when he went to Sonny Liston, says, "What's my name?" before he knocks him out. She
Right.
goes over, she shakes it, he tries to duck behind his podium. So she goes around and behind the podium, shakes his hand, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Kamala Harris."
I didn't hear that on Twitter. I just saw it because the volume wasn't up. But I thought it was a good gesture on her point, even though I would never want to fucking touch his hand. I swear to God, it would repulse me to fucking shake his hand.
Well, that was the Muhammad Ali Sonny Liston moment where she goes, "What's my name?"
What's my name?
Before she lays him out. She started pummeling him with punch after punch, and by 9:30, the man was out for the count. He just wouldn't stay down.
Well, here's a question, and the $60,000 question. What is it? Do you really think one person changed their vote last night?
According to this is something else I watched on television. They had some quote, I hate this, undecided voters. I think it was like 10 undecided voters that they were talking to in Mesa, Arizona. Okay. They were at the television studio for channel 12, NBC channel 12, I guess. 10 people who quote undecided. 2 were voting for Trump in the beginning, from the very beginning, and they were Trumpsters. You could tell because they were bending over backwards to find an excuse, And then the one lady says she wrote her name in the past 2 presidential elections. The others are supposedly undecided. After the thing, he went to the 2 Trump people, and he says, how do you feel now? And they twisted themselves into saying they're going to still support Trump. The rest of them, he says, if you had to vote tonight, if you had to vote tonight, how many of you would vote for Kamala Harris? 7 of the 10 who were undecided said they would vote for Kamala Harris. The 2 that went in for Trump still voted for Trump, will vote for Trump. And this one lady, the 10th lady, just did like this. She was like, I'm not voting for anybody. But you could, but she was one of those people that no matter what you said to her, she would say, I need to know more. I need to know more. And it's like, okay, stop it. That's bullshit. Okay. That's like you've had sex with somebody. And you say, how was it? She goes, I don't know. I need to see more. It's like, look, we just had sex. Tell me, what do you mean you need to see more? What else do you need to see? That's it. That's all I got. What else?
See, my personal problem is I don't know one single person, or nobody has confided to me that they are undecided in any way. Everybody I know is adamant one way or another. And I know, unfortunately, I know far more Trumpers than I do.
Oh, and here's the other thing. They do, both parties, both camps, the Harris people and the Trump people, had an audience of people that were undecided. Middle independent people, undecided people. I don't know where they found them, but they both had them.
They found,
okay,
goodbye.
They found them. And they have these little devices where people can say if they're leaning this way or that way. So you can monitor their reactions in real time. And both camps came up saying that Harris won 70% of those people.
Wow.
So they both agree that she shifted like 70% of the independent, undecided people to her side last night. Whatever, I don't know how many people there were in their sample, but both camps came up with that number.
All right.
And the other thing that's worth mentioning, Lindsey Graham had to admit that Trump bit the big one.
Ooh.
Yes. And when you lose Lindsey Graham, you might as well just take your parasol, put it down, clutch your pearls, and just go back in the closet.
First of all, that's pretty correct. Either that he is willing to have Trump deliver the blackmail materials to the press, because for Lindsey to actually grow a pair.
It took a while. It took a few minutes. It was because he
took a few years.
No, I'm talking about last night talking, because Lindsey Graham has said anti-Trump things before. He just always backtracks. Like when he goes, Trump was responsible for January 6th, and then he goes to the airport. They go like, Lindsey, and he goes like, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what I was thinking when I said that. Trump is my daddy. So I don't know how long that opinion is going to last, but at least last night under duress, he came up and said Trump sucked.
All right, I got it. You guys watch. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say this quick. I think overall, yeah, she definitely won, but out of that debate, she clearly got her message out. one side is stability and the other is just fucking chaos.
Right.
And really, I think when people go to vote, people in the end want stability in their lives. They don't want to deal with all this fucking bullshit. They just want shit to fucking run and fucking live their lives. And if you're going to the other side with Trump, it doesn't look like that at all. It just looks some
I know
deranged.
people, though, most of the Trumper people, and Chivola would say, well, you can't say we all think alike. Most of the Trumper people I talk to, they embrace the madness, the chaos. That's what they want. A lot of them, they weren't politically active before Trump got involved, and now they are, and they really feel like burning the shit down and starting over is the only solution for America. And like, are things really that bad? You're living in a cozy home. You got your boat. You got your fucking trucks. You take 2 vacations a year. Do you really want to burn it down to?
Oh,
but yeah, they say yes.
And we didn't even say. T Swift gave her
Yes.
backing last night. God came down and she said, I shall back Harris.
And the thing is, she was forced to do it. She didn't want to do it. The only reason why she did it was because Trump put an AI created video that said that she endorsed him on his website.
Right.
And because he did that, she felt like, she says, I have to put the record straight. It's like, she probably wouldn't have said anything. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
right.
Because he did that, she's like, okay, now you guys, do your research, register to vote, get out there and vote. And she has what, 20? They said she has like 20 fans, 20 followers. How many is? I don't know how many followers she has. Like 13?
It's millions, 200 million.
Oh, that's the number. That's it, 200 million. I was a little off. But,
wow.
So
one thing, because I did not watch. I was working and monitoring Twitter and all this stuff, and then read the transcript. But one thing that RFQ tweeting in real time, and I saw him tweet that she just admitted. This is what he said. She just admitted that the coronavirus was created in a lab, and that was one of the things that the Biden-Harris administration was censoring on social media, one of the conspiracies, and she just admitted it. And I was like, well, the transcript, let me finish this, and then you can comment. The transcript is not, it's not up to speed with the real-time Twitter stuff. So I had to go back and read what she said, and what she actually said was, he was praising President Z, who lied to us about the origins of COVID. That's what she said. He took from that's an admission that the conspiracy theories were true. And I was like, no, he lied to us about everything in the origins of the disease, which made Trump call it a hoax in the beginning, and his response to it was treating it as it wasn't a real thing until it was too late, and then it was overwhelming us. But Z lied to us, and I think that's what you were saying. I don't want to put words in her mouth. You guys watched it. Did it come off as because they were saying she stopped herself short of admitting that it was a lab leak, intentional lab leak.
No, she didn't come up to the line of that kind of thing. It was almost like just the way you read it. She was just saying, look, Trump congratulated Xi, and Xi was not being as cooperative as Trump was saying. That's basically what she was saying. She was just saying that Xi wasn't being cooperative, and she wasn't saying what the true origins were. She was just basically just saying that Trump is a bad judge of character and a liar. and he mishandled COVID.
And how many Republicans are licking their lips that they finally may see an exit door for this fucking guy?
I think probably most of them. It's just not in public. They're going to do it
not in public. But I bet inside that party, there's a lot of people who are like, finally, it's happened, and we can finally put this pig out to pasture.
Now, whether or not
that's the case.
People were immediately saying that she should have another debate. I really don't think that she needs to have another debate. I would just go and do interviews. Yeah. I would not have another debate because, first of all, Trump, for all of his flaws, he is a media whore, and he really does know how to he is very masterful at manipulating the media, which is why they don't cover him the way they should. They, as you correctly pointed out, they sanitize him. Okay, yeah. And anybody else, no one else would be able to get it. Not many people will be able to get away with being sanitized like that. He has gotten them on board with that. So I don't think that another debate would benefit her as like this one will. It will benefit him because it will give him an opportunity to look less crazy.
And
so I say don't debate him. Don't debate him, and just go ahead, do your news conferences, do your rallies, your press.
I agree. I don't think she will. But just because we both agree on that, nobody's
that means
really
we're wrong. If we both agree, that means it's
nobody's listening to us for advice in her camp.
No, Kamala better be listening because she sent me 40 texts between last night and this morning asking for money. And if the bitch asking me for money, she better be listening to me talk.
And to see him be taken down by a woman is just poetic justice.
Yeah, but that comes back to my my personal desire for a woman to call him out as being a rapist in front of a serial sexual abuser, rapist, or a pedophile, even in front of everybody who adores him and worships him. Just to see, I want that so bad, and she didn't do it. And I understand she had her reasons for not doing it. But me, I need that. I need the Mike Chavolas and the people and the Ralph Soloris and the Vinny Soloris and the people in my life who worship this guy and refuse to believe that he would fucking rape their daughter in front of them.
Yeah,
I want them to understand who he is.
Here's the meme I want to create. You seen Trump with his NTFs or whatever it is with the card? He's dressed up like Superman. I want that picture, but I want him on his knees, like Superman just been exposed to kryptonite, with a picture of Kamala behind him and saying Trump's kryptonite. That's him with
I'd like to see her with a leash on his neck, and I got a new dog. Any Hispanics want to eat him?
Yeah, I think she didn't do that because, like GD referenced, she was like Ali last night. She was just hitting him to the point where he was so fucking confused. She's over by the turnbuckle with her boxing gloves on, smoking a cigarette. Like, I guess we're gonna keep doing this. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, and the other thing that Trump did, again, too late, because she had him dancing around at will. That the things that he could have said that would have benefited him, they didn't come to his lips until like it was too late. It was like you finally get a punch in, but you're so weak they just let you hit them. And that's what he says something about, you're tied to Biden's administration or something like that. You're tied to Biden's policies. And she's like, you do know you're running against me, right? Not Biden. It's like, boom. It's like, oh, fuck, that should have landed. I just don't have any.
Yeah, we got to end this, but I do, because you guys watch it and reading the transcript, it's not really clear if, first of all, he brought up her choice of vice president, and then at some point he said something about Vance not clearing the messaging with him. I wish he would have talked to me. Or something. Do you think he threw Vance under the bus in any way?
He's thrown Vance under the bus several times since then. I mean, last night. He threw him under the bus last night too. But also, there are things that they gave some things that we heard Trump say on video. And Trump goes, I don't know. I don't remember saying that. Did I say that? I don't know. I don't like the thing about her turning black.
Right.
The thing about when he admitted that he lost the election, but barely. When he came up, he goes, "Oh, did I say that? I was being sarcastic." And then the guy says, David. David says, I saw that interview. I didn't detect a hint of sarcasm.
Right, that's in the transcript. But the reason I asked this is because at that moment, and again, watching Twitter, I watched the MAGA sphere literally in real time change from or start to put out the message, vote for the Trump Kennedy ticket, Trump Kennedy 2024. I was like, what, did he already fucking throw Vance off the ticket? I mean, because that's what they in that moment, his loyal following changed their message, or maybe they're confused and they think Kennedy's on the ticket. But I was like, wow, that's really weird to see not just one guy on Twitter, but hundreds and hundreds of MAGA people using Trump Kennedy 2024. It's like, he's not really on the ticket. I mean, he's
Yeah,
going for a
what
job.
you'll probably see is more just Trump 2024 signs and not as many Trump Vance 2024 signs.
Wow.
I think that's what you'll see. I think because the cult of personality really is all about Trump. He's not pushing a ticket. That's why he's so quick to throw Vance under the bus. He has no investment in Vance. His investment in Vance is financial because of Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. They like Vance. Vance is like an acolyte, and he wants their money and their support. That's it. It's a transactional. Trump has no loyalty to Vance, and he'll throw him under the bus as if Vance was one of his own children.
And did you also quickly? Did you see that Tay-Tay signed her statement, "Childless Cat Lady"?
Yeah,
well?
yeah.
What's
with
this?
a picture of her cat? Taylor Swift at the end of her thing, she signed it, "Childless Cat Lady."
Yeah, signed it, "Childless Cat Lady."
Are you aware of the Elon Musk response to Taylor Swift? Elon Musk said he was going to impregnate her. If you win, I'll impregnate you.
Is that some kind of reward? And I'm pretty sure.
In his mind, it is, but it comes off as like the totally creepiest old man.
Yeah, that's very creepy. It's like, well, and he can't even take care of his own kids, and he wants another one. Come on.
Fine, Taylor, you win. I'll give you a child and guard your cats with my life.
Okay, that's creepy.
That is.
I'm sorry. He's a billionaire. That's eccentric.
Yeah. I just want to play this because this, I think, history students 200 years from now might get. This is a moment that is so surreal in my mind. It's this thing.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
Her reaction, fucking priceless. But the fact that we are considering a guy who cannot, because his comeback in the transcript, at least, I'm not sure if this went out on air, but he got fact checked, and then he said, "I saw it on television."
Yes,
and that to me, that's a Rogan moment. That is a Rogan moment of, I saw it on the internet. Like, come on, dude, you can't be running for the most important job in the country if you can't tell the difference between truth and lies on the internet and television or fiction. To actually have him utter those words on that stage. First of all, nobody in his camp either had the balls or the influence on him to say, please don't fucking bring up the dogs and cats shit when you're on stage tonight. And if they did have, he did not have the wisdom.
I'm willing to bet 2 hairs off of my head. I'll give them to you that they didn't think that he actually would say it, and so they didn't tell him not to say it. I'm willing to bet they're like, they didn't even bring it up. I'm willing to bet like no sane person would ever bring that up, and so they didn't tell him not to say it.
And his body language and the faces, you could tell when she was talking and just looking at his body language and his face, he was so pissed off that he had to sit there and listen to a woman tell him how it fucking is. And he couldn't stand that. He could not stand that.
Wow. Well,
now last night I have this one guy who's been pretty much trolling me, got on TikTok because of some Trump Harris memes that I posted, and he was saying things like she's unintelligent, she doesn't interact well with people, and he was saying things that obviously are Vance things. They're Trump Vance things. Like when Vance goes into order the donuts, he can't do it. And she goes in and people are crying to see her. And he just had this guy had all these things. And one of the things he said to me was, and you can't make this shit up. And I said, well, apparently you just did.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got tomorrow. We have one author, Ann Charles, who's been on my evening program and doesn't remember me. I'm hurt.
I know you're hurt by that.
Yeah. But so that will be the program tomorrow. We'll have time to kind of see. I might have to go look at this replay or something because reading the transcript was fun, but the way you guys describe it, it sounds like it's more fun to watch.
I'm saying it's what you're doing is kind of like reading the transcript of a comedy show. Okay, if you're at the comedy show, if you're reading the jokes that Jackie Martlin's telling. You're like, okay, yeah, that's funny. But then you see Jackie Martlin do his act out along with it. You're like, oh,
you're gonna get me in trouble because I'm gonna say I actually prefer reading Jackie's jokes. I love you, Jackie.
So I'm just saying it's the difference between reading Jackie's jokes and watching Jackie perform it. That's all.
I was hoping that the person that was at when he visited the black journalist, I was hoping that person was going to, when he would say something, they'd be like, whoa!
All right. We'll wrap this up. All right. Another day we've gone 3 hours. And did I never even say goodbye?